don't have forever. Maybe I could take your pain and turn it into pleasure. Into pleasure. As time goes by, my love grows stronger. Can you feel it the same way I do? As time goes by, I can't wait any longer. Just say that you'll be with me too. As time goes by, my love grows stronger. Can you feel it the same way I do? As time goes by, I can't wait any longer. Just say that you'll be with me too. Just say that you'll be, say that you'll be. I'd be there for you whenever you need me. But you've been holding back. Maybe you're just not ready. Baby, do you feel the same? Or do you feel the pressure? I promise I can take your pain and turn it into pleasure. Into pleasure. As time goes by, my love grows stronger. Can you feel it the same way I do? As time goes by, I can't wait any longer. Just say that you'll be with me too. As time goes by, my love grows stronger. Can you feel it the same way I do? As time goes by, I can't wait any longer. Just say that you'll be with me too.
Deep minds, we were forced to be alone. Unknowns and nowhere is the same. And even when it seems like there's no way out, we'll grow a little closer. We water, we flow. All of us together, we're good, we flow. Nothing is the same, but I won't hold back. I won't hold back. I won't hold back. 'Cause we're better together. Better as one. 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 Deep minds, we were forced to be alone. Unknowns and nowhere is the same. Grow a little closer, we're water, we flow. All of us together, we're good, we flow. Nothing is the same, but I won't hold back. I won't hold back. I won't hold back. Cause we're better together. Better as one. Better together. Better as one. Better together. Better as one. Better together. Better as one.
can see it in your eyes. Lonely in the corner, waiting for somebody to come and save you from the cold of night. Easily, we've been falling in disbelief. I think I'm ready for another try, but this feels like the last time. So why did you say goodbye? It's better to say goodbye. Why did you say goodbye? It's better to say goodbye. So why did you say goodbye? Quiet like the ocean, with the rumble running deep. This is how I see you, when you hide your feels from me. Why you heavy-hearted? Cut the silence, talk to me. Release your mind, get what you need. Easily, we've been falling in disbelief. I think I'm ready for another try, but this feels like the last time. So why did you say goodbye? It's better to say goodbye. Why did you say goodbye? It's better to say goodbye. So why did you say goodbye?
us now. Ain't nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming. We got nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming. Ain't nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming. We got nothing stopping us now.
have forever. Baby, I could take your pain and turn it into pleasure. Into pleasure. As time goes by, my love grows stronger. Can you feel it the same way I do? As time goes by, I can't wait any longer. Just say that you'll be with me too. As time goes by, my love grows stronger. Can you feel it the same way I do? As time goes by, I can't wait any longer. Just say that you'll be with me too. Just say that you'll be, say that you'll be. I'd be there for you whenever you need me. But you've been holding back. Maybe you're just not ready. Baby, do you feel the same? Or do you feel the pressure? I promise I can take your pain and turn it into pleasure. Into pleasure. As time goes by, my love grows stronger. Can you feel it the same way I do? As time goes by, I can't wait any longer. Just say that you'll be with me too. As time goes by, my love grows stronger. Can you feel it the same way I do? As time goes by, I can't wait any longer. Just say that you'll be with me too.
Deep minds, we were forced to be alone. Unknowns and nowhere is the same. And even when it seems like there's no way out, we'll grow a little closer. We water, we flow. All of us together, we're good, we flow. Nothing is the same, but I won't hold back. I won't hold back. I won't hold back. 'Cause we're better together. Better as one. 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 Deep minds, we were forced to be alone. Unknowns and nowhere is the same. Grow a little closer, we're water, we flow. All of us together, we're good, we flow. Nothing is the same, but I won't hold back. I won't hold back. I won't hold back. Cause we're better together. Better as one. Better together. Better as one. Better together. Better as one. Better together. Better as one.
why did you say goodbye? It's better to say goodbye. Why did you say goodbye? It's better to say goodbye. So why did you say goodbye? Quiet like the ocean, with the rumble running deep. This is how I see you, when you hide your feels from me. Why you heavy-hearted? Cut the silence, talk to me. Release your mind, get what you need. Easily, we've been falling in disbelief. I think I'm ready for another try, but this feels like the last time. So why did you say goodbye? It's better.
Move to work and I'm out of here. Murder the tune, it's a body here. Reviving the beat, then it's right back to sleeping. I use a technique that they got me here. Whoa. 10 feet ahead and you catch me, it's something you'll never do. I turn around. This is incredible. It's how it feels at the top.
الفي جي اس ممكن يفعل اللاعب الاخير امام اللاعبين كثار.
I give it, look in my eyes.
يعملها مؤمن ولا ما يعملهاش، هي اليمين ولا مين.
I got a lot on the line. Bitch with a different approach. Wanna spend time in a boat.
مروان من يلبس البروت الان يحب النيد، ما تقولش في الحضان، يعطيها تقول لا هي للاحلام.
Hello and welcome back everybody to the fourth day right here in our second week of the PUBG Mobile Pro League Africa Fall 2022 season. And of course we're back with all the action the Africa region has to offer. Now yesterday we saw the rise of 1 million esports. They were able to replicate the insane performance we had from Titan Gaming that they showed all the way back in our first day right here in week number 2. So much so that they were able to exactly replicate the amount of placement points and eliminations. Now, if you remember back on day 1, that was 50 eliminations and 50 placement points. And that is what we saw coming through from 1 million just yesterday. It's absolutely insane play coming in for them. But of course, today we get to see whether or not 1 million will be able to uphold that momentum and continue to climb the ranks. Now, my name is DK, and I'm joined by the one and only Proxy, of course, as today's the day in which we get to see if we're going to be having a bit of a shuffle in that power dynamic. And of course, more importantly, how are you doing today?
I'm doing quite well, thank you, DK. And otherwise, really excited for today. As we know, 1 million picking up those 100 points. They seem to be taking a page out of Titan's playbook for the time being. I'm not going to say the entire book because they still have to replicate it today. They still have to replicate it coming back tomorrow. And then we could really be seeing a true competitor to potentially take out Titans once and for all.
Yeah, it's going to be quite a bit of an exciting day, but we'd love to hear what our viewers are thinking, so I'd love to remind you about our socials. So be sure to head on over, give them a follow, and while you're there, you can tell us what you're most excited about of seeing today and also for the remainder of the season, but also you can tell us which teams you are here to support. Be sure to include the hashtag PMPL Africa, as you can see at the bottom of the screen there. You can reach us on YouTube, Facebook, as well as on TikTok. So head on over, let us know what your predictions are for today, and also show some love for the amazing teams that we've been showcasing their talents across our previous few days of performances. But of course, speaking about the previous few days and the performances we've had, let's move into the format just to remind the viewers of how things have changed up coming into this season of PMPL Africa. Of course, we've done away with those super weekends down to just 5 days of performances participating over 3 weeks, as we can see at the top of the page there. And of course, as we know, at the end of the week, our top 12 teams are going to be moving over into Livik to have a little bit of that extra action to lock in a few additional. And of course, that would then result in our teams establishing those points, looking to see who will be those final 16 teams to move through into the finals. And as we've seen also then, but part of the change up, moving into the finals, the teams are accumulating those bonus points throughout the weeks, right? So at the end of every week, the teams get placement points or bonus points based on where they ranked, and then the overall ranking through the entire stage of the league play will determine how many additional points these teams will have moving through in towards the finals. And as we've seen, they can accumulate up to 80 points in total, and that is going to provide them with a great head start moving into the finals, as we've already been seeing this being so contentious.
Absolutely. And we can take a look at the calendar to see, the days of play, the phases, how they are broken down. Of course, we are already into week 2 or phase 2, whatever you want to call it. On Saturday, it is the 10th for those of you who have forgotten the date. And tomorrow is going to be the last day of play for these teams to pick up as many points as possible to get them into that top 20 respectively, and hopefully to climb those overall rankings as well. So a lot is on the line, but then we say goodbye for about a week. The teams are going to just be gone for a week, maybe prepping, maybe getting ready, maybe taking the necessary rest to come back even stronger into, of course, week 3 and then potentially the finals.
Yep, so it's going to be quite exciting to see the change up we'll be having from these teams moving through from that week. Already we've been seeing quite a bit of a change in our single days of rest that we've been having. But of course, at the end of the day, the teams are competing for something, and they are, of course, playing for their share of that prize pool, aside from other things, right? Each team will be awarded $2,500 for participating, but the teams who make it up into the final will be walking away with even more of that kaching in the bank, right? The team that places up in first is going to be walking away with an additional $10,000 on top of that.
Absolutely. Second and third is not looking too bad either, with that 6.5 and 5 grand. It's so good. But of course, MVPs, winner chicken dinners also make quite the difference moving into the finals weekend. So it is a lot of kaching to play for. And of course, the top 6 teams move on even further to the Middle East and Africa champs. So definitely playing for not only the kaching, but also the opportunities that lie here after PMPL Africa Fall. And of course, we know it's already been a very contentious bout for these spots so far.
Yeah, and we also know that the performances from the previous season and this season will, of course, get counted together to see who will be those teams that could potentially be making their way over in towards the PMGC. So there are several things on the line, especially in this season of the PUBG Mobile Pro League. But of course, the one way that we know the teams are going to be able to solidify those positions is through utilizing the point structure, right? Large maps. That winner chicken dinner is worth 15 points. Over on Livik, it is worth 10 points. But then we have that ever essential 1 point being awarded per elimination the teams are able to secure.
Oh, yes, and we've seen how much of a difference it's made for some of the teams to be able to pick up those points with elimination. Some of the teams have been extremely aggressive, especially moving into, the Saturday and Sunday games that we've been seeing, because the teams are trying to make their final, pushes up to that leaderboard, up to the top 12, to obviously get their spot on Livik and, of course, get themselves better situated in the top 20 of the week. So very interested to see how the teams are going to be making use of both of these sides. As we know, so far, 1 Million and Titans have been both able to pick up the perfect day of play, both picking up 50 eliminations, 50 placements in a single day of play. So the teams, they have quite the bar to catch up to.
Yeah, I mean, that bar has been set exceptionally high. But of course, speaking about teams, right, we have to take a look and see what our group split is coming through on our second last day of this week. Group A, Group B, C, D, and E, of course, still solidified in their slots. But as we know, moving into that next week, right, the following week of play, this is all going to change up once again. And aside from the group order that is changing on a weekly basis, we are also shuffling up that map rotation on a constant basis, changing up, looking to see how the teams are able to adapt and cope with all the challenges being thrown at them.
Yeah, adaptability, that has been the main thing here for the teams. And what they really have to worry about is not only, the opponents on the map. Not only is it the fact that we keep swapping up everything on them, the format has changed, the maps are changing, the groups are changing, but of course the bar is being set even higher as the teams move through the phases. We've already seen massive bouts of improvement, as you already mentioned. Titans were the first team to pick up that 100-point day game, but 1 million said, no, it's not going to be enough. We're going to be making the exact same sort of play, picking up those 100 points, and that's already showing a massive jump, or at least a catch-up to those top slots. And we'll have to wait and see who is going to be the team to catch up to Titans.
Yeah, we've also seen one team from each of those groups being positioned in our top 5. And of course, to take a bit of a better look at what that is, we take a look at our overall rankings, right? Titans coming in with an exceptionally strong position right here, as we can see, holding on to that leaderboard. And, well, slowly that gap is closing up, but there's no drastic change, right? Not a super easy push to be accomplished. 1 million really putting in the effort, but still they remain 97 points behind.
Yeah, so I mean, the gap that's building between first and second place, it was already quite a high bar that has been set. But so far, 1 million have seemed to be the only team that might be able to catch up to them because of the explosive performance that they were able to actually show us yesterday. They might be the only team to actually close that gap in the next maybe a few games, maybe tomorrow's games as well. Leaders, of course, not too far off, but they would have to step up not only today, but tomorrow as well to still be in contention to maybe toppling the Titans. So far, it has been pretty crazy, especially looking at how we start to drop down these points, because the top 4, all right, they look pretty comfortable. They still have an opportunity to swap around, but they're somewhat getting set in their ways. As soon as we move from that 5th position down, even all the way to 13th, which we'll take a look at in just a moment, there's only a measly 39 points that is separating these teams from not only finding themselves in the top 12, but maybe even shaking up the overall standings completely.
Yeah, but what I'm appreciating from what we saw moving on to that first page, right, is that we are seeing that return coming through from Slime4KT. We're also seeing the players from Desert Flame really well situated on that page. But then looking at the second page, right, this is where we can see the players from Darkness and Virtual Gaming and Zero Tolerance starting to just, reestablish themselves. Applying a little bit of those positional plays, and especially looking at the players there from Darkness and the players coming through from Zero Tolerance, right? In the last week, we had them sitting on that 3rd page, but now, already in this 4th day, they are just creeping their way much closer. And as you pointed out, there's not a lot really separating the teams all the way from, 6th place further down on towards even, I'd go so far as to say 17th.
Absolutely not. And we have to give a shout out to Myth, for yesterday, just having a steal of a performance to start us off with, just taking that winner chicken dinner right out of the clutches of Slime4KT and 1 million to start us off, and just to show that this is definitely going to be a very interesting set of games. But of course, as you mentioned, 39 points from 5th up to 13th. As we know, the top 12 is the breaking line for teams to be able to take part in Livik, but still, it's looking very contentious. It's not a lot of points for these teams to pick up. Even if we take a look at the 3rd page, it is looking a lot healthier than what it did in the previous week.
Yeah, I mean, the situation continues, and we pointed this out yesterday. There's a 41-point gap between 6th place and 20th. So all of that can change right here today, seeing that we are going to be having the teams go through another bit of an ordeal, right? And this is going to be a little bit of a different ordeal. We had our Miramar heavy day. We've had our balanced days come through with an equal share of each. But again, today's going to be one of those special days, right? Where the teams will have the opportunity to step out, to show us what they've got, and, potentially just try and increase those points. And I'm really excited to see just how far these teams are going to be pushing it today, because we know the 4th day is usually the day where we see the most action coming through, because the teams are now trying to kind of close up those potential gaps that they could see on those leaderboards.
I think it's definitely going to be quite the challenge for Titans to hold on to their record of picking up 2 winner chicken dinners a day. So far, they've picked it up for 3 days in a row. 4 days in a row is going to be a very tough battle, as we know, because not only is 1 million trying to catch up to them, but the rest of the teams are really picking up their energies.
Yeah, speaking about energy, of course, we need to give a big shout out to Monster Energy, our official energy drink partner for the PUBG Mobile Pro Leagues. And aside from Monster, we also have to give a big thank you going out to Oppo. So, born to win, welcome to the exciting match brought to you by Oppo. Get your gamer mode on with the much loved Reno 7 series. Now, as today's going to be the opportunity for teams to, just drive that energy up as high as they can, enable that gamer mode, and just blow us away with some absolutely phenomenal performances. And of course, we get to that point where we need to see what the map rotation is for the day once again, right? We've been talking about what we could be expecting, but today is going to be that Erangel heavy day. Starting it off with Erangel, of course, doubling it up with 2 more a little bit later on. And of course, then closing it off with Sanhok at the end.
Yeah, so yesterday we started with Sanhok, we moved into those double Erangels, and then we moved into those double Miramars. Today, it is the bread and butter all day long. It is Erangel. Everyone knows and loves Erangel. So the teams will be very happy that they can bring in one of their more consistent maps into the day of play, and of course, have the most opportunity to rake in those points. As we know, with second last day of the second phase, they really need to step up their game if they either want to get into the top 12, and obviously, if they want to get even more bonus points at the end of this week.
Yeah, I think this is going to be an absolute banger of a day to come through, right? Not only are we absolutely double loading it or triple loading it with that Erangel action to come through, but as we looked over on towards the overall rankings, we saw that it is still pretty much a very indecisive performance as to who's going to be those teams to lock themselves into our top 12 positions. So moving into our very first game of the day, this is where I'm expecting the teams to step up and just show that they mean business. They are here to get themselves into the top 12 plays, and potentially we could see an entirely different grouping of teams making it through up into that Livic match at the end of the week. But it's all going to come down to what the teams bring out onto the battlefield within this very first match, and then how they continue that momentum moving forward. We've seen that slow, steady bit of a build-up coming in, and we're not including the players from 1 million or Titan Gaming in this whatsoever, because they don't need a build-up, right? They've already shown that they can just absolutely demolish the opposition. But this is going to be that opportunity for Leaders Esports, One Round, Soul Esports, and the rest of the lobby to step up and show us what they've got. And of course, what better time to do it other than heading right into our very first game? And of course, now we get to figure out where that flight path is going. Of course, it is starting down on towards that southern island, but it does seem like it is heading in a very nice direction here. Very centralized flight path. And indeed, yes, there we have the confirmation. It is going to be a glorious flight path to start off the action with.
Oh, so centered. But again, the question is, how is that zone going to complement this? Are we going to be seeing a little bit of that shift coming on through, as it is the first day or the first game of the day? We do know that, unfortunately, Group E will not be joining us. So Super Young Stars, VST, Triple Esports, and Mad Knight will not be making their debut just yet. So for the time being, the Virtual Gaming won't have to really worry about anyone joining them there towards Verni or any other shenanigans happening. But I am very curious to see how the zone might complement this, because, the teams might be feeling a little bit more confident going for those longer drops, and then, as we know, Erangel just decides, no, I'm going to go the complete opposite way of you.
I mean, there's definitely a few teams that I'm going to be watching coming into today, right? Because we know there are 8 teams that didn't have the opportunity to move into that Livic match to get into a little bit of that spicy action as well, right? So with that, I'm referring to our Golden, TEAMLAG, Mad Knight, Super Young Stars, Desert Flame, Zero Tolerance, the players from Legends of War, as well as Darkness. Now, from what we already have with the changes coming through on the leaderboards, right, a few of the teams already being able to get themselves already well situated within those rankings. But I want to see Mad Knight, I want to see Legends of War step it up today. I want those absolutely phenomenal plays coming through, and they are going to be having a great opportunity to do exactly that, seeing that we've got the flight path now situated all the way up in towards that northwestern side.
Okay, so it's not
The
crazy.
zone. I
It's
said
not
flight
crazy.
path, but the zone's there.
Yeah, but we knew what you meant. We can see the map, so it's okay. But absolutely, we have seen some great performances. I mean, I'm thinking about Desert Flame yesterday. After the entire day of play, they ended 4th overall, just trailing behind Slime 4KT with a measly 3 points. Again, it's all blown out of proportion because of 1 million picking up a ridiculous amount of points. But it does show that improvement. I mean, ending up in a top 4th spot after one single day of play does mean that they have the opportunity to climb those overall rankings. So yes, they might not be where they necessarily want to be, but they're definitely showcasing that improvement. And coming through from the third page of last week, we would expect the same from everyone there as well. Like, of course, Legends of War, in case and points. I feel like, again, we see those glimmers, we see, you know, just those measly sort of shining moments of Legends of War, but we want more at this point in time, right, DK? We've seen teams pick up 100 points, we've seen teams pick up 36-pointer games. We want more from Legends of War.
Yeah, we've had that 21-pointer play coming in. I don't really know how much the likeliness is of us really experiencing that here once again. I'm all for it. Could it be another team to do that? Sure, right? Surprise us. Come in with those absolutely insane plays. But for the time being, it does seem like the teams are really showing a good approach, at least to the start of this match, right? We have that separation. The team's not going to be clumped up together. Everyone's going to be allowed the opportunity to get themselves sorted with wow, that was difficult. Let's try that again. With regards to loot, you know, English is quite challenging at days. But once they've got that loot sorted, then they can look to prioritize getting themselves into a good situation. And now, with the zone being where it is, I think this is going to be opening up a lot of avenues for these teams to explore.
Yeah, it definitely could. I mean, it really does provide a lot of the teams such as Virtual Gaming. I mean, I'm taking a look at One Round 1 Million, Zero Tolerance, Wave even, and of course Leaders. A lot of the teams that, you know, really favor that northwestern position already, they're going to find themselves, you know, right at home. They can take a little bit longer. They don't have to immediately focus on those rotations. Teams who favor those very far distant drops like Seoul Esports and Arab Golden there towards the military base island, well, yeah, they got a little bit of a rotation to kick off here. So, be interested to see how that's going to change up. Of course, we know some teams already favoring some of those earlier rotations. I'm taking a look at Darkness, who are still keeping very active already towards the edge of zone. But, yeah, jumping into that zone particularly is going to be quite interesting if you're coming through from that southeastern side.
Yeah, I mean, with a little bit of focus on that southeastern side, I think if Myth and Lag are able to get themselves situated in a bit of a gatekeep position, or just in a position where they are able to kind of lock down that region, the territory, they could be, you know, quite happy with the results of that, as we are going to be having Titan, Soul, Arab Golden, and of course the players there from Legend of War still having to push in from those more southern angles. So if they can get themselves situated on the edge or in a favorable compound, where they could be expecting someone to rotate up towards, that could result in quite a few of those, you know, more favorable eliminations heading right up in towards their direction. And a team that we are also wanting to see that kind of return of action that we had in our very first week is also going to be over on towards Slime 4KT. We know coming into yesterday, the players there from Slime, they did finish, I think it was third overall for the day, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
That wasn't the kind of Slime performance that we were expecting to see.
No, especially not since we started the day with Sanhok. We moved into the double Erangels. Moved into the double Miramars. It felt like the perfect day for Slime 4KT. They did get very, very close on that first Sanhok. As we know, there towards Ruins, it was absolutely chaotic, as it is chaotic right now for Flacco, being blown to smithereens. But they didn't quite make the adjustment. They didn't quite grasp those last couple of seconds to actually, get them that winner chicken dinner. So hopefully that changes up today.
Well, we did see a very strong run coming through from Desert Flame just yesterday, right? A few really great efforts being played out here by them. But unfortunately, with Senke now stepping up and finding that elimination on Flacco, that is not going to be allowing the same kind of play, at least not right now, for the players from Desert Flame. But they have that opportunity to get themselves resituated, repositioned, and into a little bit more of a favorable angle in anticipation of what is yet to come. And I think moving into this compound, it's going to present quite a few challenges, because we know, right, this particular compound is one that the teams like to fight over. And we've got a Wave already moving in from the one side. We've got Virtual Gaming just over on towards the western side. Zero Tolerance over towards the south. So you want to talk about a contentious position? Desert Flame, they find themselves smack dab in one of those.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, even 1 million is moving into this vicinity right now. Leaders just around the corner from doing so as well. Even Darkness, a little bit more north, is already there towards Severny. So we can see the elimination feeds are probably going to be popping off anytime soon. Already Myth finding a little bit of a tag there onto Senke from 1 million. So it will be kicking off quite quickly because for some reason the teams have just all decided, well, you know what? This is the location we all want to have a party.
Yeah, but I mean, we were kind of expecting this based on what we saw coming through last week, right? This is nothing out of the norm. The teams, they've now decided, you know what, we're fine, we're looted up. It is now time for action. As we can see, almost all the teams, aside from the teams on those outlying regions, just kind of converging into the center zone territory, and this is resulting in quite a few interesting positions actually being held. Myth also just trying to see if they can find a bit of an angle to play here on towards 1 million now.
Yeah, it's a bit of a change up in terms of just, where our focus is shifting. So, I mean, initially we'd always be worried about those earlier rotations. I mean, Arab Golden and Soul having to jump across the bridge with either VST or Titans holding the line. Now, that's not the case. Obviously, we are prime and focused here towards the center zone where almost every single team is about to set themselves up. Of course, Myth still trying to make that dash across the bridge. They did find a little bit of damage there towards Senke, but that's all for naught right now. Senke is back up and ready and dealing some revenge led there.
Yeah, and the difficulty that Myth is facing at this position is, I mean, if they move to that eastern bridge, 1 million's lying in wait. If they move to the western bridge, that's where we can see the players from one round currently being situated. So Myth not having the easiest time here, picking a good rotation to get across over on towards that more northern territories. But the zone is going to allow them to kind of abandon that approach and instead focus on getting themselves more situated towards that center zone. And I think with this shift, this is where Zero Tolerance in particular is going to be feeling a lot of that pressure come through now.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Similar to what Desert Flame is going to be feeling, holding a prime position, holding any sort of prime real estate, prime compounds, it is going to land in a very difficult contention for some of these teams. You can see Darkness already just doing a little bit of a drive-by past Virtual Gaming, and they're not choosing to get involved. They're just choosing to let them drive on by, give themselves the time and the space to get set up at least, because they're still out in the open, right? They want to get themselves a little bit more secure in some sort of, hard cover.
Yeah, and I mean, as we know, positioning is going to be absolutely essential at this point in time. The teams will have to try and lock down a good defensive angle to play here. But I mean, Zero Tolerance, they're exploring their options, right? Not fully committing to one particular spot. I love this little bit of exploration coming through from Skydo. Just making sure that the coast is clear, at least to the direct north. But now as they move back into that sunken city, they can continue to just try and fortify their angles. Meanwhile, Myth not having the easiest run here, right? They do have the players from Legends of War potentially moving in behind them up on that Everest position. But of course, still a lot of pressure being applied through the one-round esports team.
Absolutely. Legends of War just moving on just behind Myth, of course, trying to join in the cluster of chaos that is happening here towards the center zone. It's only really Arab Golden that hasn't joined in just yet alongside Blackjack Esports, as you can see, still out in the zone. The rest of the teams, of course, they're trying to navigate their way into center. What I do like so far in terms of the setup that we're finding, those central positions, again, what we mentioned, the teams who are no stranger to this part of the map, they obviously set up much earlier than the rest. So they're going to be finding themselves in an opportunity now to pick off some eliminations earlier rather than later.
Yeah, and of course now we can see it is going to be Alpha Luigi just trying to evade a little bit of that pressure coming in hard on their heels. But I'm loving this position being held by Lag, right? They're starting to spread themselves out, trying to cover as many angles as they can find at this point. Of course, moving through with the vehicles, looking for a bit of a place to occupy for the time being. But as we can see, right, they are sending out that one scout. It is going to be Gaga now moving further towards that western side, looking for that opening. But they need to be careful because we have the players there from leaders just up ahead. And of course, Zeus can still see them.
Oh yeah, just trying to peek around, maybe see if they can get lucky, picking up some early damage at least, because it's going to be a bit tough to try and confirm any eliminations here. But of course, we know leaders holding this crash light position. Gaga going to be spotting them out and immediately hightailing it out of there, because as we know, Lag, they're running that 2-1-2 setup, I would call it, I guess, because yeah, just trying to get information at this point in time. Gaga is the prime scout, so hopefully they'll be able to just regroup and take that information through into a little bit of an opposition later on.
Yeah, and of course, leaders esports here, they are going to be adopting that 2-2 split. Now, especially looking at this plane crash side, this is a good kind of positioning to, to adopt and bring on through. But as we can see, they don't have any major opposition held up within that area. It is going to be a little bit more of a priority down towards the players there from 1 million situated up in Cube, as well as Virtual Gaming, as they now find themselves situated right on the very edge of zone. But now having to try and bring in that extra bit of a defensive position, because where the chaos is going to come through, as the teams on the outlying regions are going to be looking to get a good secure position to pull up in towards.
Zooming into the zone, the teams are going to be moving in, trying to get themselves set up. Of course, 1 million holding very, very good positioning. We do see Lazy Boy just doing a little bit of scouting position, jumping out into the fray, trying to just maybe potentially find a good rotational path. In the meanwhile, Lag have decided to actually invest into this leader's territory. Gaga came back for a little bit more, and the rest of the team is, of course, here. But now vehicles are coming on through. It is a hot fight.
Yeah, leaders now lighting it up. Fantasy trying to defend, but it's not going to be a successful push there as Morteza steps on up, just lining up those beautiful hits. And now all the pressure turns down to A9Q and 19, the two final contenders left for the side of Lag. But this is where we get to see what the kind of situation is, what that approach is coming through from Lag, right? Are they going to be hanging around trying to close this up, or will they prioritize the positioning further up in towards zone?
It's a little bit of a scramble for them to get out of this, and unfortunately they didn't have the same information they did going into that altercation with leaders. So going right in between Virtual Gaming's position, they are going to be taking a couple of pot shots, but we'll have to wait and see if anything is going to be significant right now. Already Alpha Luigi repositioning up a little bit higher to get a better line of sight onto A9Q and 19. And well, as you can see by the health bars, they're not looking too great.
Oh, definitely not looking too great as Lag now loses yet another player. All the pressure now coming down onto towards A9Q. Was huddled up alongside that buggy, but this is the play, right? This is Virtual Gaming looking to lock it in, and they do succeed as Gaddafi nails the coffin shut. And Virtual Gaming now having quite a favorable position up in towards the north.
Absolutely. Now, Wave, of course, holding this compound very close, of course, to zero tolerance. We know this is zero tolerance territory. They are fantastic when it comes to setting up traps in exactly this position, in exactly this territory. So they're no strangers, but of course, unfortunately, there are a lot of strangers in the vicinity. There's Desert Flame moving on in. It's Blackjack now looking for Legends of War.
Yeah, and a little bit of a spread out position being played here by Legends, right? Flick fighting themselves up alongside Blackjack. Very, very separated play, but it does seem like the rest of the team are maybe trying to get themselves a little bit better situated, maybe opting for a little bit of those ruins angles. But Flick not having the best options here. It is going to be MG now to push on forward. Does find a bit of a spray down. Up comes the jump shots, and that is Flick down for the count. Off they go. And Legends of War down to only 3.
Yeah, my question is, in all of that time, why was Flick alone, right? Where's the rest of the cavalry? They're moving on through, but of course, leaders now, they are still hunting for a bit more, and this time it's going to be in the form of Darkness, picking up Zala, and now, be careful. There's some play zone action here, and a couple of pot shots from Darkness will mean that Shadowin goes down to the zone as they're trying to rotate on into safety.
Yeah, but again, Morteza trying to send it out with those utilities, trying to reach up in towards Ghost or Iron, but I mean, still a very challenging position here now for leaders to try and kind of show that dominance, right? Even though they pushed up high, they do have phenomenal angles. The same can be said here by Darkness, right? Darkness still having a slight bit of a position to try and utilize. But whichever way they're looking to play this one out, they need to be quite swift about it because the blue zone is not going to be waiting around. It does seem like leaders could potentially rather look to get themselves rotated away and let the players here from Darkness maybe fall to the blue.
Yeah, just keeping out to the outskirts right now. They're not going to be focusing on that rotation into the chaos that is center zone, but they can hang on, just for a little while longer. Just apply some of that pressure and really make Darkness sweat as they need to make a rotation on through. Legends of War, in the meanwhile, we have found the remaining members. They are staring down the iron sights here of Titans and potentially even zero tolerance. And we know Titans have just lost Puncher to Slime 4KT, who was a little bit far off from the rest of the team. A little bit of that straggler action coming through, and unfortunately now it's just Teak and P6 to try and ride the waves.
Well, let's see where this one is going to be going. Of course, the spray is not going through. P6 just absolutely hitting it home as Rhino does get traded down. The rest of Wave still lying in wait up ahead, but now going to be trying to play and utilize these angles, the utilities are going to be sent on through. Oh, that is getting super close. Rhino not even flinching. Well, not that they've got much of an option really to play at here. But unfortunately, they do fall as P6 lines up those hits. But now it turns to the rest of the squad, looking to see what they can do. And could they potentially create a bit of a revenge play onto their fallen teammate here?
Oh, the nades going to be going out. Titans are taking a little bit of a damage in form of those nades. D3S, of course, just keeps on punneling the utility, trying to provide space for the rest of the team to reposition and get back into this. Of course, Legends of War, they can smell all of this happening. It's literally happening right before their eyes. They are contemplating whether or not they want to get involved.
Yeah, it's quite a bit of contemplation having to be made here, but as we know, Teak, no stranger to the aggression alongside P6, two very formidable opponents to go up against. But as we jump a little bit further down to that northern edge, we do see the players here from Leaders and 1 Million now going at each other. Venom, of course, connecting up a few shots there on the side of Soul. Oh, this could be the play in which we see the players from Soul now getting sent on back. Rauf and Twix will be pushing up into the drink, just trying to get themselves into a little bit more safe positioning here. Senke not going to be letting this one slide. I'm loving this awareness being shown by 1 Million, but they need to be careful, right? Leaders still holding up alongside them, and Twix now trying to sneak up behind that rock just to get themselves out of the water.
But again, the angles are just so well covered here by 1 Million. Twix will be going down, and Rauf, well, days are numbered at this point in time. 1 Million, they have this pincer on the ball.
Yeah, they have those angles on lockdown, and it's going to be up to Lazy Boy now, trying to come in with a bit of that continuation. The zone also getting ready to close up once again and shift even further, reducing that playable area. But let's see what the teams will have to cope with as the zone takes a little bit of a casual shift, right? Just centering up on itself quite nicely. But this has got to be that opportunity now for the Glasser to see if they can maybe lock in a few additional plays. But one round, Leaders, everybody else still having to now fight for that situation, that positioning up in towards the zone. And with that, Leaders Esports get sent away.
Ooh. Yeah, well, Soul Esports, yes. But Leaders, they're still alive. They're still around. They're looking for that contention to get back in here. They did see what happened here with Soul Esports and 1 Million. Of course, one round now being the next potential victims. Zero Tolerance in the meanwhile, they are defending their location. This is their territory from Slime 4KT. It's Pronto with the line of sight onto Skydo, but jumping into this is not going to be easy.
Yeah, it's going to take a lot of that awareness to come on through. Slime, as we know, quite a formidable force to go up against, but Zero Tolerance now in a position where they can make those necessary gains, right? Not sitting on the craziest amount of eliminations, but they are still in contention to lock in some of those more stronger placement points. But it's all going to depend on how they get themselves out of the situation and whether or not they can get themselves repositioned back into a more favorable angle. It's going to be somewhat of a challenge as we got Leaders, Titan, as well as the players from Arab Golden and Slime 4KT all positioned on this very edge of zone. Meanwhile, Blackjack Esports are going to be falling to the pressure.
Legends holding a prime position right there. They're centered within zone. Not only do they have height, not only do they have hard cover, but they've got so much information since they set themselves up so early on. And they're running a little bit of a flanking position with Avessa a little bit higher up on into the zone. Of course, Line 4KT now going down to the drink. And of course, our Golden moving on into the territory here, coming through just from that southern portion of the zone. Of course, Legends in their crosshair as well as Zero Tolerance.
Yeah, but we are seeing that rise of virtual gaming coming through as well. Already sitting on those 7 eliminations, holding quite a bit of a formidable position all the way up into towards that northern territories. We can see them now still just trying to clear up this coastline, but they are still in a potential angle of, advantage here where they could find those great lines of sight moving further in towards the zone. Meanwhile, it is going to be Mowing, just trying to get this position under lockdown. They are quite tested here, but again, we do see that split coming through from the players of the Legends of War. But Titan Gaming not going to be wasting any opportunities as they just light the entire Ruins area ablaze, sending out mollies, trying to just lock it up for Zero Tolerance.
Oh, and the pressure's not going to alleviate any time soon, of course, for Zero Tolerance, for Paradox in particular. But Virtual Gaming now joining the fray, just coming through from that coastal line, trying to find themselves a great position in zone. And, well, yeah, zone blessed. Here we are. It's Virtual Gaming and Abessa that find themselves as the first members in the safety of this new zone.
Yeah, and it's going to be the end of the road for Zero Tolerance. As you can see, Ban coming through, just making double sure that something goes through. Not quite sure what Ban was aiming at there, but that opened up the opportunity now for Teak to come through with a beautiful knock on towards them. Of course, Wave still having their final contender left. There is going to be Ivar just holding up in the drink. But up comes 1 million now, looking to rush straight forward into Virtual Gaming. But of course, Virtual Gaming already primed and ready to roll. As we can see, they are more than willing to welcome 1 million in with all their open barrels. Of course, both teams now finding themselves on 8 eliminations apiece. But there we go. It is going to be Marshall. Oh, just on the very edge alongside Lazy Boy, just ducking quickly into that waterway. Senke Venom still moving in, but it is going to be that knock to find a successful connection onto with Senke.
Yeah, Virtual Gaming, they don't want to give this position up anytime soon. This is prime real estate because you won't have to worry about opponents coming through from the drink. And now it's a push here from Virtual Gaming as they look to take out 1 million once and for all.
Oh, up comes the nade. It is going to be cooking up. Will this find the connection on towards Lazy Boy just on the very edge? A little bit of that damage comes through, but not sufficiently so. Meanwhile, it's going to be Venom to get traded down as Zoo succeeds in pushing up now. Lazy Boy and Marshall, the final 2 hopefuls left. Looking to see if they can get this under lockdown. But meanwhile, Gaddafi does fall to the nades coming in. It is the end of the road for Wave. But our final 6 remaining teams now going to continuing their efforts here. But look at Lazy Boy go picking up that confirmation. Now trying to get the hits up onto one shot. Does succeed in landing that knock. And the next target is going to be on Alfalugi.
Oh, just trying to keep the line here. Oh, nope, nothing. There's nothing opportunity here for Virtual Gaming. It is, of course, 1 million reigning supreme with 11 eliminations moving on into the rest of this phase. And now they hold prime position. As we said, that's why all of that went down. 1 million, they need this position moving into the rest of the zone. It's Arab Golden, of course, with also great numbers now looking towards 1 round and saying goodbye.
Yeah, off they go, but this looks like the push coming through here from 1 million, right? Arab Golden also now locked in on those double-digit eliminations, and this could potentially be their game, right? They still have 3 players up, holding on to that western position. They have a few ridge lines to utilize, but the kicker's going to come through once this next zone is decided. Depending on where it goes, the team that find themselves in a little bit more of a favorable position could be the team to dominate and lock in that winner chicken dinner. Of course, Erangel, they're not going to be waiting around for that zone to show itself. Instead, looking to apply that pressure while the rest of the squad now moves on forward. Up comes the entire team, hoping to find a bit of an entry point, but it's not going to be an easy one. As we know, this whole territory is under lockdown for the time being.
1 million once again, zone blessed. They are the first team in the zone. I mean, I guess only, really occupied or really at least competitive to Legends of War, who also have a little bit of hardcover. They can step into the zone at some point in time. But Arab Golden and Titans now moving on forward, and Titans not going to have an easy approach into the zone with Lazy Boy taking this prime positioning.
Yeah, this could be the one, right? 1 million looking pretty decent with this current setup they have, even though there's only 2 players remaining. B6, on the other hand, being dealt quite the challenging hand here, having quite a bit of distance to cover, but they need to work through Legends of War as well as the players coming through from Arab Golden. But both these teams now find themselves in contention, trying to see who's going to be the next team to move in from the south or western territory. Bow trying to apply a lot of pressure on towards Angelo, but out comes the utilities. The nade's going to be flung over, trying to create a bit of an opening here. And Arab Golden, they want this opportunity to get their foot in the door.
Legends of War, they need it more. They really do need to make a massive impact here moving into the rest of Erangel. This could be their best opportunity so far in the second phase to climb those overall rankings.
Well, that nade almost on the money. Angelo sending it out, finds a bit of damage on towards Mowing, continues with the barrage, and yet picking up even more damage, but not succeeding in locking in that knock just yet. But Arab Golden, they're not going to be backing off just yet. And see whether or not they can get that push. Here we go. Oh, again, the vehicle now getting exploded, but the zone is going to be applying a lot of that pressure. And neither Legends of War nor Arab Golden have found a secure position in the zone.
No, and they don't really have an easy path either. It's 1 million that holds all of that navigational path. As soon as either of these teams move past these compounds, they are going to be in clear line of sight for 1 million to take them out.
Yeah, 1 million now capitalizing on the opportunity, getting themselves set up. waiting for these fights to come their way. Up comes Mowing, finds a beautiful jump shot. Oh, gets yet another knock. Now having to quickly do the dance around the side. Bowboy does fall. And now it's up to Wiz to try and see whether or not they can get this play sealed. It is going to be Obesa trying to push on up. Legends of War still sitting on 2 players. Up comes the play. Oh, and they succeed. Down goes Arab Golden on the very edge. But we are down to our final 3 teams. It is going to be the solo player coming through from Titan up against the 2 players from both Legends of War and 1 Million.
Already P6 picking up Mervings, just looking for a Bessa, but can't quite find the line of sight. Legends of War down to 1, down to 0. It's just P6 going up against 1 Million.
Beautiful push coming in here from Legends of War, but it is now the decisive play. 1 Million and P6 from Titans having to contest to see who will be the team to log in that winner chicken dinner. Marshall, Lazy Boy, 2 very formidable forces going up against an equally formidable force, right? P6, we've seen them also just lighting it up, already sitting on 4 of the eliminations, bringing in 2/3 of the contributions here for the team. But as we now jump over on towards Marshall, they are just trying to ride it up this ridge, trying to see if they can spot any of those pixels out of place. Lazy Boy also sitting on quite a formidable amount of eliminations here for the team. But up comes that blue zone. It's going to be moving forward. And it is going to be Marshall finding themselves very well positioned here. And they know P6 needs to move towards them. That's the only way they're going to be able to get themselves situated up in towards the zone. And this opens up the opportunity now for Lazy Boy to send out that barrage. Oh, is that going to be the nade to close the game? Not yet. It seems to have missed. P6 not going to be flinching anytime soon. Fortunately for P6, that was only a smoke, but up comes the opportunity, and it is going to be 1 million to lock it down. They won themselves that winner chicken dinner, 13 eliminations, and this seems to be the rise of 1 million once again.
We'll have to wait and see how the rest of the day is looking, but definitely a fantastic start for 1 million to tally up, their overall standings and to get that much closer, potentially, to Titans. But with P6 coming through in second place with all of the eliminations Titans did pick up, I think it will be very close on the overall standings for them to try and close that gap.
I mean, absolutely amazing showing coming there. I mean, 1 million surprising us yesterday with that 21 elimination game. Now kicking the day off with not only a winner chicken dinner, but those 13 eliminations to their name. So that's going to put them in really strong contention, trying to catch up to the performance we've been seeing coming through here from Titans. I mean, we were talking about this a little bit off camera, right? 1 million taking a page, as you said, out of the players there from Titan. I argued and said, no, it wasn't a page. They copied the book, the entire book that we saw coming through from Titans. And I mean, so far, it seems like 1 million is really here to try and put a stop to the advances of Titan.
Like I said, I'm not quite convinced. If they continue it for the rest of the day, then okay, you've got an argument. Let's take a look at the match rankings and see just how much 1 million and Titans were close. But actually, it's a little bit of a shift up here. So 1 million, of course, we know, taking the winner chicken dinner, ending up on 28 total points. Arab Golden coming through in second place, just edging away from Titan Gaming with their 11 eliminations. So Titan Gaming, they leave themselves in third place with 18. But hey, Legends of War picking up 15 eliminations, coming through overall in third place. That was a wonderful setup here for them.
Yeah, I mean, those 15 points doing them some really favorable positional plays here. But, I mean, we are seeing some heavy hitters come through. Our top 6 teams just laying waste to nearly the entire lobby there, as we can see. There's double digits alongside the 5 and 6 elims, looking pretty sweet. But, of course, one round, keeping the pressure up, locking in their 12 points. But we see that effort coming through from Leaders Esports as well as Slime4KT, right? Sitting there in that 7th and 8th position. And that's the kind of effort, the kind of start that you want coming through into the very first match of the day. Now the teams will have to continue with the momentum moving forward. But before we get to that, of course, let's take a look and see what that second page then looks like.
Wave Esports, of course, topping the page on this side with 3 points overall. And then it starts to trickle down quite significantly. As we know, the top 6 teams really did just decide that they were going to take out everyone and not leave anything for the rest of the squads. Just very, very greedy play, but we love to see it. So unfortunately, quite a lot of zeros, quite a lot of bubbles going to the scores of Team Myth, Soul Esports, Darkness, and TEAMLAG, who didn't have the start that they would have wanted to on the first Erangel of the day. But thankfully for them, there's still another 2 Erangels lying in wait.
Yeah, I think it's all going to come down to whether or not they'll be, either the teams participating or the teams that are going to be taking a little bit of a break, right? Because as we know, we are swapping groups as we progress through these matches. So there's going to be quite a bit of pressure, but also now, speaking about that pressure opportunity, right? It is going to be a lot of pressure for the teams, particularly sitting in Group E, stepping into on the battlefield. Of course, while we talk about that, let's take a look at a few of our highlights here. So this is going to be that opportunity now for Mad Knight, Super Young Stars, Triple Gaming, and VST to show us what they've got as we move over into our next match, which is, of course, going to be none other than Miramar.
Yeah, so this is going to be the debut for those teams to really jump it in, and hopefully they'll be able to lay it on thick as 1 million were able to do. As you can see, it started here at this barrage. This fight for this coastal line position with virtual gaming was really the opportunity for 1 million to take Erangel further and to really secure themselves that winner chicken dinner, just prime positioning all the way through to the end. And it's that great shift in focus, that early rotational play, that making sure that you're just keeping the objective in mind. That has allowed 1 million to really rise to the top, because they just, well, they make their rotation, they pick up a couple of crazy eliminations on the way.
Yeah, it has been absolutely phenomenal to see all the insanity erupting out on the battlefield. But of course, we are going to be taking a very quick break before we return with our second match of the day. So be sure to stay tuned. I'll see you guys right back in a short few moments.
I promise I can take your pain and turn it into pleasure. As time goes by, my love grows stronger. Can you feel it the same way I do? As time goes by, I can't wait any longer. Just say that you'll be with me too. As time goes by, my love grows stronger. Can you feel it the same way I do? As time goes by, I can't wait any longer. Just say that you'll be with me too.
Deep minds, we were forced to be alone. Unknowns and nowhere is the same. And even when it seems like there's no way out, we'll grow a little closer. Through water, we flow. All of us together, we're good, we flow. Nothing is the same, but I won't hold back. I won't hold back. I won't hold back, 'cause we're better together.
Hello and welcome back to our fourth day in our second week right here in the PUBG Mobile Pro League Africa Fall 22 season. Of course, a really great start to the day in our very first match. The guys there from 1 million locking in that winner chicken dinner, doing so with 13 eliminations to their name. But now as we get to move on a little bit further, we get to see how those points affect the overall standing. So 1 million now reaching 100 points with regards to eliminations, just 2 away from doubling up those placement points. But they are looking to close that gap on Titan, right? It's still going to be a very difficult objective to accomplish. As we know, Titan, even though they might not be locking in that winner chicken dinner, they are still locking in an absolute insane amount of points.
Yeah, 83 points away from 1 million Esports. But as you mentioned and as you argued, if 1 million can continue this, can continue to quote-unquote copy the page or copy the book of Titans, then they might be the team to finally close that gap. But as we contemplate that, of course, we do see Desert Flame Esports leading the pack in 9th place with 77 points. And as we trickle down to our top 12, it's Virtual Gaming, Wave Esports, and Super Young Stars being the guardians of the gate into Livik. Of course, Myth just 3 points away from at least getting close to Super Young Stars, and the rest of the squads not looking like they're going to be far off either. So it is it's still very contentious for the teams to get themselves into the top 12. But again, much better performances overall for these teams compared to the first week.
Yeah, those numbers are rising, but the numbers are rising together. So it's going to be quite an exciting one as we now move over into Miramar to see what our players from Group E are going to be bringing out onto the battlefield and whether or not they are going to be finding a little bit more of that more favorable approach, right? I'm speaking here about the players coming through there for Mad Knight in particular. We want to see them just double up with those efforts and maybe rise to the occasion, stepping through in towards Miramar. But of course, all will be revealed as we take a slight look at our flight path. We are starting down on that southern edge. We can see Minas Del Sur just over onto the edge. Of course, Val del Mar also there on the left-hand side, and it is going to be heading all the way up to just alongside La Cobreria and Oasis. So a very western flight path. Zero tolerance. Definitely going to be feeling happy about this one, right? Because we know they like to push to that western edge. But I'm curious to see where the rest of the teams are going to be looking to get themselves situated. Of course, Titan going to be one of those early jumpers pushing down on towards the southern opportunity.
Yeah, unfortunately, 1 million, they're going to be kicking themselves in their backs because they do also love that western side of Miramar there towards El Pozo, and they don't get to play any Miramar today. So unfortunately for them, they'll just have to sit by and watch and take a break from the rest of the teams. As we do see that zone is a bit of a question mark at this point in time to see how it's going to either complement or completely just run away from the flight path. I'm wondering if it's going to be maybe heading a little bit more towards Los Leones once again, because that, as we know, has been such an explosive end to these Miramar games, ending up there towards Los Leones.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how this one turns out, but at the moment, we have to wait for the teams to try and get themselves locked in. And of course, as there we have our zone.
Okay, so centering up quite nicely. Really good compliment to the flight path that we did have. The teams are going to have ample opportunity to get themselves into the zone, so it's not going to be, a threat for early rotations or, early runnings. At least I say that. But what's Powerboy doing over here, DK?
Well, Powerboy, I don't know. Right, it's going to be a little bit of a difficult one for them, as Powerboy is going to be looking for a bit of change. But fortunately, right, we've got Obesa right there to bring in that quick little bit of an assist, while the rest of the team now needs to turn their attention, looking to just defend it. But Mad Knight, they're not going to be letting any of that opportunity pass them by, right? I'm loving the showing here. They get the knock, then they apply the pressure, looking to just close it out as quickly as they can.
Ooh, Escola just around the corner, looking at the wrong position. They've repositioned. Look to the right. Look to the right. You're missing the whole point here. But Obesa just around the corner did manage to get the res onto Powerboy just before they got knocked again. So unfortunately, Legends of War will be down to 2 as the remaining members do try and clap back just a little bit. But Mad Knight have been so quick on their feet.
Yeah, they've definitely been absolutely beautiful. Quick reactions coming through. And that's what we want to have, right? Teams just having their heads and their weapons on a swivel. But Powerboy, again, not having the most favorable turn of events. Mowing and Flick also facing quite a bit of a challenge here, right? Because I don't really see them being able to reach up in towards Powerboy. Well, there we have our answer. It's definitely not going to be possible for them now.
No, the confirmation is going to be coming through quite swiftly, and now Legends of War are looking at a 2-on-4 scenario here that is really not looking like it's worth anything anymore, right? That disengagement surely should be coming through, as they do currently find themselves in a very perilous position here. But hopefully they will be able to go for that disengagement, because, I mean, they are center zone here towards Picado. They have a plethora of opportunities to go to a few different compounds, to continue their looting. But their focus really does need to be on longevity here.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's kind of the trend for all the teams, right? They want to maintain that focus on the longevity. But Flick now, about to really have their hands full, as it is going to be a full send from Mad Knight moving into the arena. And I'm not quite sure whether or not Flick is going to be able to keep up with the pace once Mad Knight really starts letting it loose. But we've seen this actually taking a bit of a different swing before. But for the time being, it doesn't look like it is going to be on the cards. Merwing also just keeping a very steady bit of an Overwatch position over onto that side. But they are going to be caught in a bit of a pincer play here, as we do see the players from Leaders also now on the approach.
Looking at this now, Flick and Mowing taking a little bit of a stand back here as they try and just work with the angles available. Beast up close and personal with Scola. Going to be a bit of a bait and switch opportunity here for Beast to get a few shots in, but no crazy connections just yet. Again, Legends of War, they still have the opportunity to duck out and dive, getting out of this position.
Oh, but they are going to have a very limited time to try and duck out, right? Because it is none other than leaders just situated behind them, coming in with that 2-1-1 split. And of course, the spray down comes through as it was Kola from Mad Knight actually ripped mowing right out of the vehicle. Flick now trying to make a run for it. That vehicle on fire, and there we go. Carry Boy is going to close the door on them right then.
Oh, this is not the opportunity they were looking for, unfortunately. But hey, Legends of War, they had a fantastic Erangel. Maybe they can come back for the rest of the Erangels of the day and prove us a little bit, show us a little bit of that Legends of War action. So leaders already picking up one, Mad Knights, of course. They picking up fantastic eliminations right off the back of Miramar, and they find themselves center zone. So again, not a real position that we're going to see Mad Knight gunning for a reposition, gunning for a different location, because they've got everything going for them at this point in time. Who is looking for different positions, of course, Darkness, One Round, and Titans, who still have to find a position within the zone.
Yeah, I mean, One Round, they position up north, so they've got a little bit of a smooth sailing play to have here. It's going to be somewhat of a challenge once they start moving in towards the zone, especially if they're pulling in towards that La Cobreria region, because we know Ab Golden holding on to that territory. But I got to say, though, that was a really great play coming through from Mad Knight that we just saw, right? Those 3 eliminations, and this is the kind of play we need to see from them. That's why I said I want to see Mad Knight step it up. And so far, it seems like they are doing exactly that, right? Bringing through some really great utilizations of their angles, but they are still situated in that smack dab center zone. So we'll see how much of a longevity they are able to maintain, as we could have a few more teams now strolling on through. But of course, still, it is going to be up to the positioning that the teams on these outlying regions can actually get themselves moved into.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm taking a look at One Round. They're all running that 3-1 setup, with Knight being the one there towards Oasis, who can take a dash straight into the northern part of that zone and just see what's happening. Where can they potentially get themselves located and situated? What I do like is that crazy little central part that we have with Mad Knight leaders, now Triple Esports, now VST, making a little bit of a move and potentially showcasing that that is going to be a very contentious spot of the zone. And, well, no surprise, we've got Titans running a 2-2 here towards the southwestern regions, and they're looking pretty happy, very relaxed.
Yeah, I mean, it is going to be smooth sailings, right? The south completely open, especially the southwestern side, where we can see the place here from Titans being situated. But we are seeing a little bit of that congestion coming through in towards Chumacera. Same can be said for Los Leones. But looking at Power Grid itself, right, it is going to be Triple Esports now having to step up to the challenge, as a VST and leaders could be rolling in right alongside them. None of that has been decided just yet, but the potential is definitely there. So Triple, they will definitely need to be super wary moving in and around the area.
Oh, no, absolutely. It's similar to what we saw on Erangel, right? The teams making that mad dash for center zone, trying to get themselves as well situated as they possibly can. But it doesn't always go that way, right? We don't always see this happening. And hey, what we don't always get to see is those little bit of buggy actions, you know, just climbing vertically like the Spider-Man buggies they are.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I love, right? You know, testing out the limits of what these vehicles can do. But for the time being, we are seeing a little bit of that serenity moving into the map, at least just for a brief moment, right? The teams just trying to just quickly regroup themselves before continuing on with this push. We also have that blue zone that is going to be closing on up as well. But Super Young Stars and Soul in a bit of a position where we could have that trade down come through. Neither of these teams really 100% spotting each other out just yet. But once that zone now closes up, that's going to enforce a lot more of these plays to continue to go.
Yeah, I'm looking at Slime 4KT. It does look like they've opted to rather just double it back, heading into a little bit closer of that northwestern region where Arab Golden currently find themselves. We can see them just heading back, you know, maybe condensing, maybe just trying to regroup, heading a little bit further into Creative Fields, even Montenuevo, taking a longer rotation potentially. But I'm curious to see if they're going to be finding themselves in a bit of an altercation with either Arab Golden or even One Round moving in. But Soul Esports and Super Young Stars are also no strangers to each other now, are they?
No, they are definitely no strangers whatsoever. And of course, now as we can see them actually starting to line up this altercation, we do have Raouf and Twix perched on high, looking to get a bit of a vantage point play here. And it's going to be messy now to feel that and experiencing it firsthand as the shot connect on through. It is going to be Moord now trying to just utilize that vehicle as an extra bit of hard cover. Again, not the easiest position to find yourself in, but for the time being, it will suffice.
Yeah, no, it's fine. There's a little bit of hard cover, and that's all that we really need. But what is definitely going to have their work cut out for them, as Sol, Omar, and YC are very, very close to this contention, running that 2-2 split. And already we can see that flanking position coming through from the rest of the team, just limiting the time, the space that Mort has to actually get away from this. But of course, that's going to depend on what their teammates are going to do about the situation, right? We've got Winky, we've still got Messi, we've still got Seraph in this position. They could actually give the space that Mort needs to rotate on out.
Yeah, they could, but whether or not that's going to be on the cards is yet to be seen. Of course, Rauf now trying to do due diligence to scanning the remaining compounds down below. But Zverev cooking up the utility, sending it out. Could that be the one to start this fight? Well, that's a little bit of damage going on towards Twix, but a quick response coming right back on towards Zverev. It is now Rauf cooking up the nade, but they have rather been spotted out as the shots follow through, and Rauf just narrowly escaping that knock to come down in their direction. But again, the fight will continue between Soul and Super Young Stars.
Yeah, this is a delicate position for Mort. Again, in a prime position to really help out their teammates in terms of position that Soul Esports are trying to push. But every time they try help out, they expose their angles. They focus on, well, not the reigning doom that is right around the corner in the form of YC and Omar, who now make a bait and switch happen here. As one goes down, the other is still standing, ready to take this engagement.
Well, let's see where this one goes. Of course, a beautiful trade-off coming in both directions. But this is that opportunity for Mort now to just push across that ridge and get the jump onto Omar. But instead, Omar gets the raise and gets the jump right on Mort. Down they go. And it's going to be Super Young Stars now, down to only 3 players. Unless, of course, they can potentially find a way to alleviate a lot of this pressure that Soul is providing.
Yeah, Messi's already jumped into a vehicle trying to reposition, potentially trying to get closer to Mort, but that confirmation is going to come through, and that just might signal to the rest of Super Young Stars that, well, it might not be time to continue this. But Winky now sneaking on up is going to spot out Twix. Not spotted just yet, but has great information that nade could be the push for Super Young Stars here.
Oh, there we go. Winky finding quite a bit of damage. Twix now just quickly trying to retreat as Zverev pushes on forward, looking for those openings out in the smoke, not finding the exact position, but Twix taking quite a bit of damage. Down they go, but it's going to be Winky to fall on next, as they are going to get rushed by Omar, who just looks to save the team. And this is where there's absolute carnage. Of course, Super Young Stars, Messi now quickly trying to just regroup back with the rest of the team. This could be that saving grace. But now they need to full send it right on in. There's not going to be any time to waste. Messi needs to rush on forward, and now it is going to be Soul to look to close it back up again.
Oh, the nades are going to be sent out, trying to give them the space. I don't even know if YC's going to be able to heal up in time. Goes down to the blue once again before they can even shoot anything from that DBS. Messi now trying to focus on any sort of recovery. Will be able to at least get Winky, but that's all that they get. Super Young Stars down to 2. And Soul Esports, well, they're still trying to recover their numbers, as Super Young Stars might be able to make a dash.
Oh, but this is now Winky in quite a bit of trouble as that blue zone comes through once again. Messi also retreating back to the compounds here. But unfortunately, right, that blue zone will continue on as the damage keeps on coming in. We are going to be seeing that next shift now find its way on through. Rauf looking for those final eliminations, kind of narrowing it down to a few options here. But let's see whether or not this is going to be on the cards. It's going to be Messi to get pushed. Winky waiting for that rest to succeed, but Rauf also now having to turn a little bit of focus back onto getting that health bar in a more favorable kind of set. Maybe this could be that saving grace for Super Young Star.
I'm not sure. Again, they're going to have to make this dash on foot. At this point in time, they might have to just fight against Soul Esports, who are still sticking around. At least Rauf is trying to get these confirmations. A little bit of a back out might come through now, as of course they know they have to just focus on those rotations. Hopefully, this is the space that Super Young Stars need, but it's going to come down to that push. DK out in the zone. How many heals do they have left? How can they actually make this push?
I don't know, but what we've been seeing developing in the meantime, right, is this position between Blackjack, Triple Esports, Leaders Esports, and of course the players coming through from Mad Knight, all now fighting themselves situated right on top of each other, but it is going to be leaders perched up high alongside triple esports, and this could be a bit of that vantage point being utilized. As we can see, Wasted waiting for the opportunity, spots M7, but not going to commit just yet. Instead, waits for the confirmation, and there we go. The head is locked in, signed, sealed, and delivered.
Oh, thank you very much. Come again, potentially here. For Triple Esports now looking at Morteza. A couple of shots are going to go through, but no connections just yet. As we take a look at the rest of the teams, of course, they're lying in wait for the same opportunities, just scrambling for some of that information. Leaders holding some good high ground, but it is a very dangerous position currently with all of these teams scattered in and around the vicinity. Triple Esports now making a dash to try and regroup as they hold a very, very good position within Central Zone. And looking at Titans now, they're going to be rotating right along Seoul Esports.
Oh, but still not an opportunity really for Titan to drive it in just yet. Meanwhile, it is going to be Ghost there from Darkness just up ahead, who is going to be knocking themselves on down. Teak, of course, can't miss this opportunity. Just steps up, locks in that elimination, and off they go. Now just continuing with the roll back into the next phase. But Seoul also just trying to leapfrog their way on forward. Takes a bit of a look down onto with Titans. But Titan Gaming not super exposed, right? Really utilizing the terrain. And I'm loving this play. But Darkness, ooh, they've got to find a way to get themselves a little bit more secured.
Oh, absolutely, because, I mean, already losing one member to Titans, now having to make, again, that decision on how to rotate into zone alongside so many of the teams here towards the western side. But turning our attention here to Titans, Assault, Esports, and Super Young Stars, hey, out in the distance, who have made it into the zone. This is going to be a very interesting engagement, as we know. Darkness just behind Titans, so they could get involved, or they could just actually disengage and focus on the zone, shifting a little bit closer to their position.
Well, let's see where this one goes, right? Titans still going to be looking to keep the edge of zone under lockdown. Quite a few teams having to roll up alongside them. Not only Seoul, but we do have a few more contenders situated over on towards the edge, right? It is going to be Super Young Stars also looking for a bit of a play. But again, right, that zone going to be moving slightly towards that southeastern position. So not a lot of pressure coming through, especially on the southern edge. But still, the team's not guaranteed safe passage just yet.
No, not at all, because all of these teams, I mean, we're looking at still 14 teams that are alive and in this final zone. There's a very limited amount of space as we move into the final phases here of Miramar. Now Carry Boy from Leaders, looking for potential, looking also for information as the teams are rotating on through. But Zero Tolerance, oh, they're not in great positions, finding themselves in a sandwich here with Slime 4KT, will result in them being sent back into the lobby. But Slime 4KT, they've given themselves the space moving into this northwestern side.
Yeah, they've definitely done that, but now it gets down to the point where Slime needs to utilize these ridge lines, right? Because App Golden, oh, will be providing them with a beautiful opportunity as Angelo goes out for a little bit of that looting. But VST also in the vicinity, so this could be that opportunity now for Storm and Plaza to just drive it in and just let it rip with regards to eliminations.
Absolutely, they can pick up some huge points. Already picked.
Yeah, and it does seem like that is exactly what they're doing. It's going to be Knight and E-Flex now getting ready to welcome Storm to the party, or at least that edge possession. And of course, there we go. Knight finding the knock right into Storm. And now the pressure turns onto Plaza. Looking to see if they can find a little bit of a different approach to get themselves resituated back in towards the zone. Of course, going to be following suit, moving straight on forward, pulling up alongside Storm instead. Let's see now. Could Plaza turn this around still? Ooh. Well, I mean, Plaza just gave us a slight bit of an answer there, right? They are just going to hammer their way on out. Of course, it is going to be Knight still opposing Plaza here, so not going to be able to secure a good position. But out comes the bounce. That Nate getting a scary close. Meanwhile, Wiz will be falling to the zone. It is a fair exchange in both directions. Plaza taking a considerable amount rather, of damage. As you can see, the barrage of utilities now just flying over. Knight not done. Sends out the molly, but fortunately, well, unfortunately rather, Spin lines it up, and with that closes off the opportunity now for Slime for KT.
And Arab Golden, they still want to set their sights even higher. It has to be one towards one round, but are they ready for it? Sin going to get caught out in the open. Ban going to be going down to a nade from Vivo. So VST and one round now working collectively to take out the remainder here of Arab Golden.
But VST really having quite the position, right? They've got the numbers advantage, and they're turning their focus right there onto what is left of Arab. Of course, Adleno cooking up that nade. Will this be the one to close it up for Sinsin? Of course, in the meanwhile, we'll be pulling off that race, quickly jumping in that vehicle to get themselves back into contention. Up comes the rush. The spray, though, the shots connecting up. Sin, running out of space and health, and down they go. But the fighting, the altercations will continue, as we can see quite a bit of a mess now happening towards the southwestern side, right? It is Soul, Leaders, Mad Knight, Triple Esports, all jumping at the opportunity.
And why wouldn't they? I mean, just continue on forward. Titans, of course, taking out Blackjack Esports Myth now. Also just taking a piece of Titans. It is a ban in pursuit for all of these teams to pick up as many eliminations as they possibly can moving into this next phase. But it's Myth holding a controlling position within the zone. Even Ramsey now just throwing a couple of pot shots here against one round. We'll have to wait and see who else is going to be joining them. It does look like Mad Knight in the meanwhile might be just jumping into Titans.
Yeah, well, it's going to be quite a contentious play, though. But, I mean, Mad Knight, right? They've already looked like they've wanted to step it up from what we've been seeing from them. But, unfortunately, just based on the positioning, it is going to be quite the challenge for them to succeed in doing that with the sheer number of teams we have locked into the vicinity. Of course, Buncher just up ahead. Morteza not finding that angle just yet, but doing the due diligence in the meantime. So let's see whether or not that's going to work out for them. Meanwhile, it is going to be Vibe 7 to find himself at the mercy of Carry Boy, just coming through with a beautiful spray. Oh, there we go. Chemo's also getting spotted out and traded down. And now triple down to only their final hopeful. 7 Reef left to try and ride out the storm as Mad Knight now also get eliminated.
Oh, and which is down to a fraction of the teams that we joined into this last phase. Titans, of course, great positioning for them there towards that southern eastern portion of the zone. But once again, who's the first team in the zone? It's Myth, it's Ramsey and co holding a great position and once again setting themselves up for even more. But MG finding Soul Esports, just sniffing them out of the corners, might mean the end here.
Well, at least as we know for one of the players there from Soul, right? Omar still in contention, but not going to be playing a same kind of approach just then. But there we have it, right? One round, meanwhile, will get traded right on up, as it is the players there from Leaders Esports to spot them out. And down they go. VSD also feeling quite a bit of pressure. Leaders yet to push back in towards the zone. But this is where things are looking absolutely phenomenal now for Myth. As you pointed out, Ramsey situated smack dab center zone. But the rest of the team now also trying to see if they can find a position to rotate in towards.
But I am still just looking at Myth, right? They're holding such a good position. Titans getting closer, but the dash that they have to make puts them in the crosshairs of VST, puts them in the crosshairs here of, well, Mad Knight, anyone that's really in this position. Leaders Esports especially, we know they're so good at picking up those eliminations. Now VST out in the open, ooh, hiding here from Leaders Esports, but now they find themselves in a sandwich between Myth and Leaders.
Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty tough one, right? Even though Ramsey has got that position locked in into the zone, there's not enough space for the entire team to squeeze in, and that's going to make them super vulnerable for any of those nades that could be sent in their direction, of course. Meanwhile, 7 Reef will be fighting that trade on towards Wasted, as Morteza also falls to the positional angles here. But up comes VST, looking to capitalize on the carnage. It is going to be 7 Reef to close it up right then and there for Leaders Esports, though.
Oh, this is not the way that I thought it was going to go for Leaders and not the way that I thought it was going to go for Titans. But yet, here we are. It's Myths and VST that hold the numbers and they hold some great positions. Of course, VST still yet to move into zone. Triple Esports and MG, at least from Blackjack Esports, also yet to move into zone. Right now, they don't really have much of an option as Myths are just being such a nuisance.
Oh, yes, but this is the kind of nuisance that you want to be, right? Myth holding on to a full squad. VST also trying to roll on through. As you can see, the shots are starting to connect and up. Ramsey locks it in as 7 Reef gets sent off. It's a boot also then going to be falling. And VST now being put rather on quite a bit of a back foot. Up comes that Leno trying to make that push. Oh, gets spotted and absolutely victimized. Down they go. But Zuxi also falls. It is the end for VST. And now it is up to MG to hold on and contest against the entirety of Myth.
Oh, MG. Listen, buddy, I don't know what you're going to be doing in this situation. It is a 1 on potentially 4 if the Rockets back up on their feet, and you're taking a bit of a very difficult line of sight here. Now that Nate exposing their position, DK, I think then there's a numbered.
Well, it could be numbered, but it is not over just yet, right? MG just going to be on that very edge. They've got about 30 seconds or so left on the clock before that zone starts moving up once again. And this is where MG now needs to try and prioritize and split up these altercations, right? We can see Momin and Allah just holding on to that very edge. But not a lot of ridgeline cover really remains. MG now trying to just find a bit of an opportunity here. Of course, that smoke is going to be running down as well. Starts to dissipate, and this is where the exposure comes through. MG getting picked up out in the open, and it is going to be a clear victory coming in for Myth as they lock in an absolutely glorious performance. And, of course, 12 eliminations to their name.
Great oppositions here from Myth. And as you mentioned yesterday, you know, they started off that Sanhok day, stealing away the winner in a chicken dinner, not picking up the craziest amount of points. But this time around, we saw a very different side to Myth, bringing in a fantastic plan of action, making sure that they were the last team standing.
Well, I mean, you got to appreciate the efforts, right? Because that resulted in some glorious PUBG action. I mean, it was quite a bit of a challenging zone, looking at where that zone had shifted. And as we saw, there was quite a bit of contention coming through on the western edge. But unfortunately, leaders are not managing to survive that. Great play, though, coming through there from 7 Reef, just letting it rip. And if I'm not mistaken, I think 7 Reef actually took down 3, if not all, the players from Leaders Esports. So an absolutely phenomenal effort being brought forth. But unfortunately for MG, right, it just wasn't on the cards. That position, it was a good attempt, but unfortunately, as we saw, once that smoke dissipates, you're out in the open, super exposed position, and that just made it so easy for Myth to lock that in and drive the final nail through.
Yeah, absolutely. The final nail is in the coffin. But for that final moment, as we mentioned, as soon as MG, you know, actually just unfortunately exposed their position, those nades went on suit, smoke faded, really nothing to do. And again, they shouldn't be, you know, really beating themselves up about that, because what else are you supposed to do in that scenario? They still managed to get themselves into second place in a very contentious final zone. But looking at the rest of the teams, I'm very interested to see what's going on with Titans. As we mentioned, they still have a record to try and uphold here, and now with 2 maps down, and well, where's the winner chicken dinner?
Yeah, we don't know just yet, right? But of course, what we do know about is our sponsors. So we got to give a big shout out to Oppo. So Born to Win, welcome to the exciting match brought to you by Oppo. Get your gamer mode on with the much loved Reno 7 series. And of course, aside from Oppo, we need to show a lot of love to Monster Energy as well, our official energy drink partner for the PUBG Mobile Pro Leagues. So big thank you going out to both our sponsors, well, 2 of our main sponsors here, making this event a possibility. And of course, that is resulting in a lot of crazy performances that we are having these teams step up to the plate. And if I'm not mistaken, Myth also picked up a winner chicken dinner just yesterday. So maybe we could see a little bit more of that come through. But of course, we also then have to take a look at our match rankings to see where the teams find themselves.
Yeah, from stealing away that winner chicken dinner on Sanhok to actually just massively earning it here towards Miramar. 27 points for Team Myth to pick up. It was just such a good showing from them. But of course, Blackjack Esports in the form of MG coming through in clutch in second place with 17. Titans finishing off with 14 thanks to the fantastic elimination points that they garnered there. For VST as well, in those final moments, they had a really good positioning, but as soon as that zone shift really came through, it just spelled disaster. So at least they picked up those great eliminations towards Leaders Esports, because it really just helps to bolster their current standings.
Yeah, and quite a bit of bolstering and it has done indeed. But as we know, right, the teams still have quite a few games to play across to see how many points they'll be able to acquire. And of course, speaking about the points, we are also on our way to take a look and see what the results are for the teams finding themselves on that second page. But again, right, quite a bit of aggression being shown by the team situated on this first page, right? Coming in with a decent amount of eliminations. But now we need to see what the result of that is and what the teams on this side did. Mad Knight still locking in those 4 eliminations alongside Ab Golden and 1 round. But from there on down, it's been donuts across the board.
Yeah, Legends of War, unfortunately, being the first team to bid everyone else adieu, joining Virtual Gaming, Zero Tolerance, and Darkness, who won't be picking up any points for Miramar. After the performances that they might have had on Erangel, it's a little bit of a unlucky, but come back, you know? We still got more maps for the rest of the day. Good eliminations, on the other hand, for Mad Knight, Arab Golden in 1 round, so not looking too bad overall. There's some good, at least, final pushes coming through. As we mentioned, the teams do tend to be quite aggressive on these Saturday and Sunday games because they're trying to get themselves into the top 12, understandably. So that energy that comes through does result in quite an active elimination type of, match that we might be seeing.
Yeah, that's what we were hoping for teams to really try and break that mold, step up and just keep on applying the pressure. And so far, the first two games of the day being pretty evident of that. But of course, now we are getting closer and closer to moving into our next few matches. But let's take a look at a few of the highlights coming from Miramar, right? How the team Myth were able to secure themselves moving into that position. Actually, from what we saw, Myth wasn't too overly active. Right? They were just riding the opportunities, but once they got themselves situated into a controlling position in the zone itself, it was just up to Myth to just keep that pressure high and just keep on finding those trades.
And it's very reminiscent of something that we might see like 1 million doing, right? They focus on those final rotations. They're pretty quiet. If there's an engagement along the way, they will definitely take it. But ultimately, they wait for those final moments to really make it shine. So in these final moments, we saw Myth holding that position and really just forcing the rest of the teams to, well, say goodbye to getting yourselves into the zone. It's ours. Thank you very much.
Well, they definitely capitalize on that fact. And of course, speaking about facts, right, we are going to be taking a very quick break. So be sure to stay tuned, and we'll see you guys right back in a short few moments.
Stalemate? No problem. Ultimate Arena decides the victor.
Hello and welcome back, everyone. Of course, we're getting ready to jump straight into the action once again, moving through into a little bit more of that Erangel action, right? So today is our Erangel heavy day. So far, we know that it has been proving to be quite the exciting and tantalizing performance the teams are bringing out onto the battlefield, with 1 million picking up that first chick and the players from Myth picking up the second one. So who will be the team to rise to the occasion in our third match? Of course, let's take a look and just remind everybody as to where we have been, where we're going, and what is up next. Match 3, that is where we're heading right now. A little bit of that Erangel action, followed up by, guess what is, more Erangel action. And then we head over into the lovely sweaty jungles of Sanhok to see what the teams will do just to try and alleviate a little bit of that pressure.
Oh, there is other maps? I thought it was just Erangel today. Oh, I'm disappointed now. But yeah, no, absolutely. We're still keeping the balance. We're still showcasing all of the teams having those opportunities, at least in one way or another, on all of the different maps. But of course, Group D, they just had to sit themselves out for this past Miramar, and they're not going to have another opportunity for the rest of the day, but at least they've got Erangel and Sanhok to cheer them up. Moving into this next Erangel, however, once again, I'm going to put the challenge out to Titans. You need to get 2 winner-winner chicken dinners if you want to keep up your record, so bring it on.
Well, it's either them or 1 million, right? So the pressure is definitely going to be on to see who will be keeping up the consistency there. But of course, speaking about consistency, that is not what we'll be seeing with the flight path. It is definitely changing things up quite a bit. We've got the lovely Lapovka just down below there. So that means we are a little bit further up north, of course, heading all the way up towards that Zaki position. So it does cut off the potential plays for teams heading straight down to those southern edges. So I mean, Arab Golden not going to be having the easiest run this time around, but fortunately, we know they're not here, so they're going to be feeling quite comfortable about what this flight path is doing. This is where we get to see what the rest of the teams will be looking at with regards to those drop locations. Are they going to be sticking to their tried and tested positions, or will they be changing it up for a little bit of a alternative angle?
Yeah, I guess my focus would really be onto the side of Arab Golden and, of course, Seoul if they were playing, but they're not. So at least they don't have to sweat it and they don't have to showcase a little bit of that secondary drop location sides. But some of the other teams, I mean, I'm taking a look at, potentially Zero Tolerance, who do sometimes jump in towards that quarry side. Desert Flame, who do love that Gatka position. Well, maybe they might change things up just a little bit as we take a look at the rest of the teams. However, question, of course, in the back of our minds, the tried or tested. Wow, question. Sorry, that was not what I was expecting. It's going to be, well, Gatka and Quarry. That's going to be a prime position for these teams because we are all the way to the southwest.
Yeah, I think this is the kind of shift that we want to see at this point, right? The teams that are very comfortable running on the first Erangel now having to really step up and perform and look to prioritize those rotations ahead of anything else, seeing that everyone is pretty much situated towards that eastern edge of the map itself. So there's going to be a great chance for teams to rotate up into towards Quarry, get themselves situated in towards Primorsk, just play a little bit more of a Western game.
Yeah, just give us a little bit of an interesting day because I do think the Blue Zone has been a little bit too well behaved, right, DK? We're tired of all this central nonsense. Give the teams a bit of a challenge. Give the teams a quick shift up. I mean, the fact is there's some very Pia and Primorsk action still available in the zone. So if we continue this southern western shift, we could have a very interesting final zone. But I'm going to leave that up to the zone. I'm not going to ask for anything because then it doesn't give me what I want.
But I'm also quite curious to see who's going to push down towards that Sosnovka base, right? I mean, Titans, they're very close to it, but it does seem like potentially Triple Esports could be opting for a little bit more of that southern positioning, right? At least to try and wrap around that southern edge. Because whoever goes onto Sosnovka, not only do they kind of have free reign, but they also can survive quite a bit longer, seeing that the majority of the teams are more focused towards the northern territories.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, as you mentioned, not only do they have the opportunity of looting Military Base Island in absolute peace and serenity, but they could be one of the first teams to take control of that bridge line and take a very safe approach, at least for now, as the rest of the teams haven't moved on in just yet. But of course, taking a look at some of the other positions, I'm a little bit worried about Legends of War and Wave Esports. Hopefully they will be taking a bit of that disengagement because they did tend to drop a little bit close to one another. I mean, even Blackjack now making a rotation straight through Virtual Gaming and Darkness could see them finding each other and maybe showcasing a little bit of that action early on.
Yeah, but I think at this point, looking at the kind of situation we have towards that eastern side, right? It's going to be challenging because, yes, we've got wave leaders, Legends of War, rather, situated on the edge in and around the Rozhok and school. So that kind of gap, that opportunity for the rotational pathway in towards the zone, at least a comfortable one at this point in time, that gap is closing. So, I mean, if Blackjack, rather, are able to get that rotation sorted, they could get themselves situated much, much further on towards that western side. I mean, if you wait too long, that opportunity is gone.
Yeah, no, if you do, then, well, you can say goodbye to that opportunity. So we might see some of the teams who do you have in mind that we had such a northeastern flight path, just making that connection, saying, oh, okay, well, because we've had such a dramatic shift, let's make one of our own, right? Let's go towards those western regions. Let's get ourselves a nice coastal opportunity. And then, hey, move that on even further. But looking at this now, a good shift coming through from some of the teams like Darkness, trying to make a good position into zone. We do see Fantasy just being a little bit of that Well, that scout, that very brave scout for, of course, Lag Esports here, as they're taking a look towards VST's territory and trying to get themselves information. Hopefully they are ready, because Zaxi does seem to be moving up a little bit closer to these compounds.
Yeah, but I'm curious to see what's going to happen, especially at the hand of VST, right? Because they are currently quite spread out, particularly in that very peer Western Bridge kind of territory. But I think once Zuxi maybe picks up a little bit of the pressure that is on its way, they could either decide to fall back, or we could see that full send, that full force of VST now moving straight onto the defensive position.
That could be the case here, but of course, Zaxi, at least in the back of their mind, has the the relief that their teammates aren't too far behind. At least I would have said that if it was 5 minutes ago, right? Because VST have now split up, and Lag Esports, on the other hand, have moved into backup Fantasy. And with the vehicles that they have at their advantage, if they were to pick up any sort of engagement here, well, it would be going in favor of Lag Esports, at least for the time being, just purely based on rotations. Of course, we know Blackjack Esports getting some good information as well, thanks to Iron making a bit of a trip down the Valley of Danger. But so far, it seems they're okay.
Yeah, I mean, they're okay, right? It's not going to be the craziest play in this Valley of Doom, or whatever you want to call it. And
Danger.
then I'll do, yes, Doom, Danger, whatever, right? But of course, as they now move in towards Potato Hill, I think it's a good anchor point to set up at least on the edge of zone. But looking at the rest of the teams that are yet to rotate on through, I don't think they're going to have any particular team potentially looking to challenge them for that kind of position itself. Instead, we are seeing the players here from Blackjack focusing to just get themselves situated much further in towards zone, right? Opting alongside this kind of Pachinki territory, but they need to be careful because we have the entirety of Myth now situated up in towards Pachinki itself.
Ooh, and we know what Myth is capable of, right? We know how they are able to take this even further. So definitely going to be keeping an eye out for them. What I'm also interested to see is, hey, 1 million making that western shift already. Lazy Boy and the co moving in much further towards that southwestern position. So they are actually the team that you were asking for, DK, making that shift and making that approach, trying to take control earlier rather than later, and being one of the first teams to do so.
Well, I mean, ask and potentially you shall receive, right? I mean, the same thing goes for the teams here. So we can see Buden now trying to pick up a bit of a altercation rather with the players from the Super Young Stars. Messi on the front line does have the reinforcement of the rest of the team. They're all, of course, hunkered into that 1 or 2 compounds. But I'm loving the spread coming through here from Desert Flame, right? We got Buden on the front line, the rest of the team just off to the side there. And I'm curious to see how they're going to look to play out that position with regards to Super Young Stars. But as we move over on towards Darkness, we are seeing Virtual Gaming actually rotating on through, looking to contest with them for this position as Zizal now gets down right then and there. And it's the opportunity for Virtual Gaming now to come through with a bit of a rush.
Oh, moving on into Darkness territory, and with a speed of note, Zala already down. One shot will be here for that confirmation. So already Virtual Gaming, they smell blood and they want a little bit more. But of course, Darkness are quite split up. It's Ghost to make the first move here towards Zeus.
Ooh, up comes the trade, the strafing. It's now a bit of a chase around the rocket to see where those shots are going to be finding themselves. And of course, it is going to be Zeus moving up to a little bit of that elevation. Why run around the rock if you can just full on send it? And that is going to be the end for Ghost. So Darkness now starting to feel a little bit of that pressure come through. As we can see, Tornado and Iron are going to be the final 2 contenders left for the team to make all their dreams a reality. But I'm not quite sure what they're going to be able to do from this point, as we are seeing that mass convergence of team, right? The entire zone is looking absolutely jam-packed, and we are yet to see Slimefork KT, as well as Titans, Virtual, and Darkness now find a little bit more security.
Yeah, it is going to be a push into that eastern part of the zone, as there are a little bit of the stragglers. But as you mentioned, Esports, they were that team to make the rotation to the military base island, so they could come through in from that western bridge rather than trying to, jump up and fight a position in the east. But of course, we know VST Lag, they're currently situated within just the edge of that western bridge, so might be a little bit of danger spewing out later for Triple Esports, but we'll keep an eye out on that for the time being. As you mentioned, Lag and VST just here towards that western bridge. As you can see, it's just to the right, or maybe not. There's a few pixels out in the open that you can't see, but this does mean that if they continue to just stay around here, maybe fighting one another, that can spell danger for Triple Esports in the rotation.
Yeah, well, who's also going to feel the danger is going to be Iron there from Darkness, as it now turns to Tornado to see whether or not they're going to storm the bridge or maybe just continue to stick into that position. Iron, or Tornado rather, does mobilize themselves, looking to improve the positioning. But again, right, very limited options remain. We got Virtual Gaming right there alongside them. We've got Myth not too far away off in the distance, as well as VST. So I'm curious to see where Darkness will actually be able to get that longevity to come from, because, I mean, definitely Tornado doesn't really have a lot of options at this point.
No, not a lot of options whatsoever. I'm still waiting for Triple Esports to make their approach into the zone as well. So there is still a lot of teams, well, at least some teams that need to situate themselves at least comfortably into this next phase. So that already spells out a little bit of danger as the teams, try and fight out for their, preferred location, what have you. And yeah, we'll have to wait and see when that trigger is going to come through. Of course, we still have all 16 teams, one way or another, still well represented into this second Erangel of the day. I am going to keep my eyes out, of course, there towards Slimefork AT, actually taking such a northern rotation into zone.
Yeah, that is quite the northern approach to take, but I think there is some credit in that, right? Just really trying to not find themselves in too many pressurized situations.
Absolutely.
So that could actually award them quite a bit of longevity, especially that we are seeing such a clumping of teams further down in towards that zone. But of course, our Titans, no strangers to a challenge, right? We are going to be seeing them stepping up, trying to find a bit of that play onto Virtual Gaming. But essentially, the knock does come on through, and that's going to be right over on towards Teak. And maybe this could be that turning point now for Virtual Gaming to give Titans rather a little bit of their own medicine.
Hey, this could be the turnaround, but the buggies come on through and one shot goes on down. So there's a 1-for-1 trade at this moment in time with Titans and Virtual Gaming looking for equal opportunities. Of course, the pressure is a little bit more towards Virtual Gaming right now because Titans, they're just not standing still. They're just staying too active.
Ooh, but Gaddafi taking quite a bit of damage there. Sponcher drives through yet another devastating hit. Let's see, will this come to an end? It's all now down to Zeus, trying to thunder down the mountain, but unfortunately the pressure is just so high. It's because the actor now looking to try and close this one up. It's going to be Zeus quickly just dropping down, waiting for a bit of an opportunity, but unfortunately it does not come through as AXA just closes the door right there on them.
What do we like to say? Signed, sealed, and delivered right now. Titan Gaming picking up 5 eliminations, and now they open up themselves an opportunity moving into the eastern side. It's only Mad Knights that are still a little bit of a contention point for them to move into the zone. And hey, Triple Esports finally made it into at least some sort of safety. They are on that western bridge approach, but they're still finding themselves towards the military base island for all of the Triple Esports fans. Now, still taking a look at the rest of the teams, however, Myth, smack bam, center zone.
Oh yes. Oh yes. You know, they've been showing so far that they are not only a Myth, right? They are trying to bring in a little bit of that legendary play as well. But of course, they are going to be put to the test. Not anytime soon just yet. We are seeing the teams instead opting for a little bit more of that edge positioning, right? 1 million and the players here from Legends of War finding themselves somewhat close together, but Powerboy not in any immediate danger, at least not for the time being, is going to be trying to get that Dacia out of that position, but instead gets spotted out, and Senke now makes me swallow my words as the shots connect on through, and it's going to be Powerboy to abandon that rotation.
Yeah, but they're going to have to move at one point or another, so hopefully the rest of the team will be here to give that, covering fire, providing them that opportunity, because we still know Slimefork AT from that northern rotation are opting out for a very western approach. They could find themselves entering just behind Legends of War, which is going to throw a spanner in the works with their current contention against 1 million esports right now.
Well, let's see how this one goes, right? Because, I mean, 1 million is still a very, very challenging team to go up against. And Powerboy now experiencing that firsthand as Senke and Marshall just apply so much pressure on towards them. But fortunately, there is going to be a little bit of a release of that pressure coming through. We are seeing those third-party sprays coming in as Titans are coming in with a bit of that third-party action. So maybe this could be that opportunity now for Legends of War to just get out of the immediate danger.
That would be the hope, but as we mentioned, Slime4 KT just pulled in right behind them. So that sign, that clock is ticking for them to make their escape. We'll have to wait and see. Of course, Titans now joining 1 million, as you said, might be allowing Legends of War that opportunity to exit, while 1 million focus towards Titans. Triple Esports, on the other hand, also moving in just towards this edge position from the southwest. That zone now, once again, finding Myth, ironically. Center zone. What's happening here?
Well, we don't know, right? We're going to have to wait and see how this one unfolds. But again, a beautiful shift coming in. And this is where all the excitement will now find its way onto this battlefield. We got Triple and Lack pushing in from that southern position alongside the players from the side of VST. And I'm expecting quite a bit of carnage to now start unfolding there. But of course, Legends of War about to bump right into the players there from Slime4 KT, as we are seeing Slime trying to rotate back in towards that zone.
Oh, Slime4 KT now moving on up. As we said, this is what we were worrying about. Just behind Legends of War, and now they're looking to take this even further. They're not investing full just yet. They did go down a little bit more towards the southern position and decided to come back here, however. So I do feel that Plaza has made the call that potentially this might be the best entryway. But of course, they don't know that if they do take out Legends of War, who's sitting right behind them? It's 1 million esports. So this, unfortunately for Slime4 KT, if they choose to take this further, is going to be the toughest approach they can take into the zone.
Oh, but of course, in beautiful Slime tradition, right, they step up with a bit of that bait and switch play coming through. But again, it is going to be quite a challenging one. Let's see whether or not they'll be able to get themselves into those more favorable positions. Instead, it's going to be Obesa now trying to just disengage entirely, leaving 1 million and Slime4 KT to kind of fight it out for dominance over on towards this western edge.
Oh, absolutely. Why not, right? Take this even further. Now Slime4 KT and 1 million looking for those opportunities. Unfortunately, Koa taking so much damage thanks to Titans, who've also spotted out a wild little snake in the grass, and they're choosing to take a few of those pot shots. Desert Flame just behind Slime4 KT as well. So as I said, this is going to be a very tough rotation for Slime4 KT. This is looking like an impossible one.
Oh, I mean, well, nothing is impossible at this point in time, as we've been seeing these teams just absolutely breaking the mold all over the place, right? But let's see now whether or not we are going to be having any major upsets come through, because just a little bit further away, we are seeing the players there from 1 round and Desert Flame. So this could still swing either which way. As we jump a little bit further on towards that more northern position, Wave and the Super Young Stars, they're just going to be taking a nice, cool, calm, and collected. Only facing off against each other. Of course, Wave now going to get eliminated. But this opens up that opportunity for the Super Young Stars to just regain their stance moving into the zone.
They're definitely going to have to do so, because we got Blackjack Esports now moving on into this territory as well, trying to take control of those compounds. So this was the best line of sight that Super Young Stars could have taken to get themselves set up. And now that territory's already been taken, you know, you'd be too slow. Well, sorry, goodbye. Legends of War also getting back into the lobby. Now Myth sending on a barrage of nades to Blackjack Esports just to welcome them to the neighborhood.
Well, a big and warm welcoming indeed coming through, as we can see them now trying to just apply that pressure. The barrage of utilities getting sent on out. Loving the extra bit of fireworks that we are seeing here. But now, nothing being secured just yet. Myth definitely going to be keeping up the aggression, trying to see if they can find those heads onto Blackjack here. But up comes the nades. Oh, just getting closer and closer with every passing moment. But as we can see, right, it is turning into be quite a costly altercation across the board, as Desert Flame also now feels the pressure.
Yeah, it's not going to stop anytime soon, let's be honest. Unfortunately, Desert Flame gets sent back into the lobby thanks to a bit of a helping hand from 1 round esports. 1 million in the meantime have decided that they're tired of Titans on their back, and they're choosing to start taking some of that aggression to their doorstep. 1 down, still 2 remaining, as Blackjack Esports now still try and take at least some sort of an account of what they can do here, pulling up right alongside Myth within the zone. Again, great positioning. It is a fantastic position, but they have to keep in mind that they're not safe just yet.
Marshall, right? Marshall is going to come rolling through with a vehicle, trying to maybe pick up a bit of a knock there, but unfortunately not finding success in that just yet. It is going to be Axel now to welcome it in with a beautiful nade, taking out a quite bit of damage onto Venom, and Lazy Boy The shots making their way on up. Oh, but there we go. That extra little bit of third party action coming through. And again, still 1 round, 1 million Slime and Titans fighting for possession of the edge of zone. 1 million now being able to alleviate the players coming through from the side of Titan.
Ooh, okay. Winner Chicken Dinner record might be out on the cards, but what's not on the cards is, of course, who's going to be our winner chicken winners for this. Erangel, 1 million, now taking quite a lot of heat as all of the teams are trying to focus their position. Lag Esports applying some of that pressure as well, alongside Slime 4KT, and of course Lag holding the southern approach into the zone.
Oh, but up comes the nades once again. Look at that Mad Knight now getting absolutely obliterated, but of course a big response being sent through here from Triple Esports. Now, up comes VSC looking to crash the party. A quick little bit of a raise going to come through on the side there of Triple Esports. But let's see what Zuxi and the rest of the squad now have planned. Up comes It's a Bird, and it is going to be absolute carnage. That is what they had planned. But let's see whether or not they're going to be able to close this one out. Triple Esports just waiting on the outside of this little shack. So Chemo's still trying to keep this pressure really, really high.
It's not going to stop anytime soon. It is not going to stop at any given moment. AVST now up into the pressure cooker here with Triple Esports, and Chemo applying some great hits and finding the final one. That it is. It's a boot goes down alongside the rest of VST. But of course, it's not out of the woods just yet here for Triple Esports. They still have to recover their numbers.
Well, Carnage will reign supreme at least for now, as you can see Kingerman trying to quickly just get themselves back into the safety here, but unfortunately it is a super contested position. Chemo's right there alongside 7 Reef are going to be getting themselves just out of the smoke. Up comes the hits. Oh, and it is close right then and there. Mad Knight out for the count. Out in 8th place they go. Lag trying to swoop in with a little bit of that third party action, but they're feeling the pressure come through from 1 million. So wherever you go, there's no certainty whatsoever.
No, absolutely not. There isn't, because all of the teams want this just as much as the next. Of course, it is a vital opportunity for Lag. It's a vital opportunity for Myth and everyone that's still alive to close that gap into the top 12. And now taking a look here at Super Young Stars, applying a great amount of pressure here to Blackjack Esports. The barrage keeps on coming. It's just those final hits that need to connect, because we know their time is numbered. They still need to get into zone.
Oh, I wanted to say I'm quite worried about Super Young Stars. They've got quite a bit of distance to cover, but look at that now. Blackjack just falling right in front of them. Myth just absolutely terrifying at this point in time. But again, right, Myth now going to be turning their attention potentially down towards that southern edge. We can see Lag and the players from Triple Esports as well as 1 million still having to bring those pushes in. It is going to be Plaza now for Slime 4KT, looking to close it up. But up comes Myth, taking a bit of a swing there. Beautiful hits on towards the Super Young Stars as Mort gets ripped right out of the vehicle. ZF coming in with a very quick answer back onto the devastation. But let's see where this one will go.
I don't know. I'm still looking towards Myth. They've got such good numbers heading into these final moments. And they've got fantastic positioning on the rest of the teams. Line of sight in the bag for anyone right now. But looking at this, holding the only compound, it is going to be up to the rest of the teams to try and make the best out of their situation. Snaking in the grass, we can see Lag and Super Young Stars side to side. Triple Esports not far behind as Chemo might have spotted out at least one from Lag.
Yeah, this could be quite the dangerous position now for Chemo's. Focusing everything solely onto its Cacao. But now, Fantasy right there alongside them could spot those pixels. Let's see whether or not this is going to come through. It is going to be Fantasy to try and respond, but Chemo spots them out and succeeds in having the fall of Lag come through. Now, down to our final 4 teams. It's going to be Slime 4KT, the Super Young Stars, Myth, and Triple Esports. But Myth still sitting here with absolutely fantastic numbers.
Absolutely, and fantastic hard cover. As we mentioned, the rest of the teams are they're just kind of making, ends meet right now in terms of hard cover. They have to really work with anything and everything they can find. The trees, the grass, the rocks. They don't have the hard cover that Myth is working with, and they've got such prime positioning, prime numbers. I don't see a way out of this for the rest of the teams unless they can systematically take Myth apart. But once again, the zone favors Myth, favors Farok in particular. This is going to be such a difficult opportunity now for Triple Esports, for Slime 4KT, for Super Young Stars to make anything happen.
Yeah, and they've got that extra little bit of loot right there, right? Just to sweeten the whole position even more so. But it's going to be up to Chemos and Seven Reef, rather. Looking to see if they can maybe get themselves repositioned back into that zone. Of course, Plaza creeping closer and closer could pose quite a bit of a threat to them. But it doesn't seem like they are too aware of the situation developing around them. They are going to be finding out very, very soon, right? I am 100% certain of that. But Seven Reef now focusing their attention instead down towards that zone. And Plaza going to be looking to capitalize on this, just sneaking closer towards them. Oh, spots out the first opportunity. Looking for the second. There we go. Could this be the play now? Chemo's not wanting to get up unnecessarily, but there we have it. Plaza getting ended right there. And Triple Esports still in contention.
Once again, Chemo stands up and is the reigning champion here for Triple Esports. Moment now taking quite a lovely bit of damage here, and this is necessary if Super Young Stars and Triple Esports want to have any opportunity moving into the next phase, at least potentially taking a better position into that winner chicken dinner side. But Seraph taking so much damage now as all of Myth are heavily focusing towards their position, and it's just a matter of time. There it is. It's only Chemo's left.
Yeah, now this is Myth's game to win, right? Only one player standing between them and that winner chicken dinner. Chemo's up high, but they are going to be trying to still just inch their one forward. But that blue zone is not going to be allowing too much of a continuation of this approach to really be the more opportune angle to play at here. Instead, Chemo finds the first knock, second one coming in as well. So close, but essentially it is going to be the aggression being shown there as the players from Team Myth step up to lock in yet another winner chicken dinner.
Rolling in with those vehicles at the last possible second. Team Myth take another winner chicken dinner back to back with some fantastic performances coming through from them. And yesterday, we said they stole that winner chicken dinner. It didn't really feel like they owned it, because all that we really saw in those final moments was them staying quiet, looking for that opportunity to finally get in. But you can't deny the performances that they're putting on today. Picking up 2 winner chicken dinners back to back, taking out the likes of 1 million and Titans. Well, this is the opportunity that we could be seeing the reign of Myth coming on through.
Well, I mean, we were expecting teams to step up and bring through quite a few disruptions. And of course, Myth stepping up and delivering on that front. And of course, well, before we get into our match breakdown and our match points, we are going to be taking a very quick break. So be sure to stay tuned, and we'll be with you guys in a short few moments.
If only I had a gun, I would take over the punching kick.
That's nothing. I clearly took down the enemy. If we were to keep the score, we'd definitely be higher than this.
If I hadn't thrown the wrong grenade, I'd be eating chicken dinner for sure. What's wrong, guys?
If you don't agree, let's play Ultimate Arena.
Arguments don't matter. Ultimate Arena decides the victor.
Hello and welcome back to the action right here in our 4th day of the PUBG Mobile Pro League Africa Fall 2022 season. This, of course, is week number 2. We've already concluded our 3rd match of the day. We saw the players from Myth bringing out an absolutely mythical performance, right? Locking in their second winner chicken dinner back to back with the one that they had coming through over on towards Miramar. So it seems like today is that absolutely phenomenal day for the team of Myth. But of course, let's take a look at our match rankings to see where the teams find themselves. It is none other than Triple Esports hard on the heels there, right? Both teams, Team Myth and Triple Esports, locking in those 7 eliminations. We see Slime4KT then coming through with 8 to put themselves on a grand total of 16. 1 million also sitting on 8 with 12 points in total. But Titan Gaming still just showing up with the aggression, right? Those 9 eliminations securing themselves a grand total of 10 points for this match.
They've got such a well-rounded lead from the likes of 1 million or anyone that's in close contention to closing that gap that they don't really need to stress at this point in time. But it is great to see other teams stepping up and taking the winner chicken dinner mantle up upon their shoulders, especially Myth and Triple Esports. As we know, big shout out to Kimos there in the final moments, not only taking out Lag, but not only stepping up against Team Myth, nearly clutching out that 1-on-3. It was absolutely phenomenal work, and I hope that they are absolutely screaming in the comments, getting that momentum and that hype ready for our next Erangel.
Yeah, I mean, they are really starting to set the bar, right? Starting to push it up. I mean, should Myth be the team to rise to the occasion, looking to topple the players there from 1 million or Titan? I mean, that is definitely on the cards based on how they've been performing in these past 2 games. But as we know, right, we still have a little bit of a way to go as we take a look at that second page. We got the players there from 1 round sitting on their 4 points in total, alongside Mad Knight and Virtual Gaming sitting on 3 points each. But of course, Blackjack only securing themselves 2 points. And of course, Darkness only on 1. The rest of the lobby not finding any success, at least not in this match. But as we move into the next match, right, again, they will be presented with yet another opportunity to bring in those improvements.
Yeah, unfortunately, this has been a common trend that we've been seeing today. You know, a very top-heavy performances coming through from the teams on the overall match rankings. It's not too long ago that we saw at least every single team picking up a point one way or another, whether that was a placement, whether that was an elimination. You know, there was some sort of a movement which garnered why we've had such a competitive overall rankings in the last couple of days compared to that first week. Now, however, in today's games, we are having the shift up that we've been waiting for this phase 2. And again, it's those weekend games that just completely throw statistics out of the window, right? Whoever was your Tuesday and your Wednesday absolute monsters, aka Titan Gaming, well, moving into Saturday and Sunday, now we're suddenly talking about Team Myth. And yesterday we're talking about 1 million. So massive change up from these teams.
Yeah, but at least we know at this point, Myth won't be stepping up with yet another winner chicken dinner as we move into our 4th match, right? Now, the only reason I can say that with confidence is because they're in the group that's going to be sitting out in this next particular game, right? But again, the opportunity will present itself once we move back in towards Sanhok. I gotta say, right, some really beautiful performances coming in. I mean, Titan, they locked in 9 eliminations. Yes, they didn't finish with the craziest amount of placement points, but they still made it so contentious and made it so challenging for anyone else to get that locked in.
They were really on the ball here. But again, just managing to show up, managing to pick up some sort of points does make a difference when you set such a lead that Titans have. As we mentioned, I believe when we looked at the standings last, 1 million was around, I think, 93 points away from them. Now they get 12, Titans get, 10. It's not much of a difference. So just as they're climbing, Titans are also climbing, still at least somewhat keeping that gap, if not growing that gap at the end of the day. But we'll take a look at how the next map is going to be looking at. Hey, there we go. We can actually jump into the overall ranking so we can see how bad my math is. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's 95 points at the moment, right? So
I was close. Yay.
Yeah, sure. You were.
I was 2 points off. I was close.
yes. And close but no cigar, right? But we are seeing a little bit of that breakaway coming through also then between 1 million and leaders, right? That still remains quite a bit of a gap. That's 44-point gap that we've got coming in. I mean, it's not impossible for leaders to catch up with 1 million, but they definitely will have to bring that extra additional layer of focus through should they aim to achieve that moving into this next Erangel. But I'm loving how just the level of contention that we have here. I mean, Slime 4KT alongside Soul Esports, who find themselves just behind Team Myth, who are also not too far away from 1 round. So things are really starting to shape up, but we are having that slight tad bit of a breakaway coming through in our top 7 teams.
Yeah, so finding a little bit of that change up, as we mentioned previously, it was still looking very contentious all the way from 5th place down to 20th with only about, I think you said 41 points, separating the teams at the beginning of today. But already we're seeing that consistency move on through. As we take a look at the second page, of course, we know Top 12 is where it's at if you want to get yourself into Livik. So now VST are the guardians of the top 12 gates, holding 84 points. And of course, Virtual Gaming not far off with 78 points. Then it's 77, 74. Again, it's very, very close and contentious. I feel like one good game from the likes of Virtual Gaming, Desert Flame, Wave Esports, Blackjack Esports could see us changing up these top 12 slots.
Yeah, it could definitely change up those top 3 slots, but, you know, it's still going to be a very, very tough play, as we now are also getting closer to see what the result is on that second page, right? I was doing the math for a quick little second there, as we did see the players coming through in that 8th position, sitting on 80 or 91 points, rather. We move over onto the third page. This we'll get to see what that point situation is, right? The team sitting over in 20th position, sitting on 55. Now, what that tells me is that there's a 37-point difference between 8th place and 20th place, right? That is one match. One good match coming through from Mad Knight, for instance. You could see them moving all the way from 20th up into that top page, potentially.
But it's also crazy as at the end of last week, right? We had just said, wow, at least all of the teams on this side just got themselves over 60 points. Now we're still in our second last day of play, and the team's already at least bettering that, maybe even going even further than that, moving on into the rest of today and tomorrow. So this is just an overall improvement, DK. This is the moment that we've been waiting for these teams to really shine and showcase what they've been working on. Yes, that could be from the one day of rest, but then you should get excited that we have a whole week of rest coming through for these teams.
Well, then, based on math, right, I would hope to see a 7-fold improvement or 8-fold improvement, because technically it's 8 days, right? I want to see that extra bit of change come through, and I honestly cannot wait to see what the teams will bring on. But before we get anywhere and we get too ahead of ourselves, it is time to move in to that the last Erangel, rather, of the day. This is Erangel number 3. It is match number 4. Of course, well, it does seem like the teams will have to deal with a little bit more of a more centralized flight path. A nice improvement on what we had the previous time around.
Again, it doesn't mean that zone is going to necessarily follow suit, because we had a very northeastern flight path from the previous map, and then it went all the way to exactly where the flight path is taking us currently. So we'll have to wait and see how that's going to change up. Of course, looking at this one, we don't have Blackjack, we don't have Legends of War, Team Myth, Titans even joining us on this side of things. So this is a really good opportunity for 1 million to hopefully make a massive dash into catching up against Titans. That might really see them having a good end to today.
Yeah, it could definitely be a result, right? But, I mean, it's going to be an opportunity for Venom to potentially try and catch up a little bit there. I mean, that was such an absolutely insane amount of performances we've been having coming through, as we can see of our elimination leaders, our damage leaders being pretty consistent there. But then we move into headshots. It is going to be a Titan-dominated slot right there. And this is going to be the opportunity for any of the other teams now to try and step up and get one of their players up in towards those rankings.
Absolutely, and I would hope so, because it's good to see once again that we're not having that, okay, I will talk about that later. Let's just talk about that zone, shall we? Let's just talk about the fact that Arab Golden and Solar Esports have just joined the fray, and they're getting a zone like this.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. That's what we want to see, right? We want to see the teams being presented with a little bit of that extra nice night, right? We want to have that extra bit of a change come through. And I mean, this is the opportune moment now for Arab Golden and Soul Esports to just try and capitalize. But again, it's also going to be that opportunity for Zero Tolerance to bring in that extra additional bit of a push, right? We know that they are sitting all the way on 61 points, but they are sharing that position with Legends of War. And as we know, Legends of War aren't playing in this game, so this could be their breakaway opportunity.
Absolutely. So, wow, what a zone to actually be gifted on Erangel. So we'll have to wait and see who's going to be making that quick dash into Military Base Island. You know, already Ghost is looking at that bridge line. Desert Flame making a little bit of a joining movement to join that Sanhok Island. Unfortunately, taking a lot of very close hits thanks to Adleno, but it should seem, hopefully, that Flacco will get out of that position as they just cross that edge line. Taking a look at the rest of the teams, of course. So other than Soul and, of course, Arab Golden, who we know always venture towards that military base island, we've already got Desert Flame joining the fray. We've got Darkness, at least in the form of Ghost, jumping up into this location. So I don't know how Arab Golden and Seoul Esports are going to handle this, because up until now they've been completely uncontested for this location.
Yeah, they have been uncontested for quite some time, but this is the excitement, right? Teams that are getting a little bit too comfortable. Sometimes there's, one or two things that gets overlooked, and I'm loving the fact that the teams are now continuously being put on their toes. You see DWAS also not just trying to rush across that bridge. It's a bird. Fortunately, it is the M16. So I do think that DWAS... Oh, no, never mind. Down they go. I mean, that's why It's a Bood uses the M16 and I don't, right? Because they can manage that burst mode, and I despise it.
And it is a bit of a tough one to work with, but hey, if you've got the angle, it just provides you that extra little bit of opportunity to, just readjust, get the final angle, get the precision shot on coming on through. So VSC great, picking up at least one elimination with the chances that we know they like to hold on to these bridges. Darkness, of course, joining them on the eastern bridge, making a descent into Military Base Island. So once again, my question is going to pose to Arab Golden and Seoul Esports. How are they actually going to contest this and deal with the fact that there's sudden intruders in their military base heaven? But of course, the rest of the teams haven't been quite convinced that this is a military base pool, right? We still have majority of the teams holding onto their main island approaches, still a little bit slower to take that rotation to the southern part of the main island into the actual zone. So it's going to be curious to see how it's actually going to end up, because some of the teams not really wanting to take that gamble.
Well, I'm pretty convinced that Darkness knows that Seoul Esports is positioned down in towards Nova, right? Because if they've done their VOD reviews, that is a fact that they should be well aware of. But look at the rest of the teams now moving through. Aside from the slight bit of congestion we could be experiencing on those bridges, I'm expecting the teams to really start pulling towards the positions on that coastal edge. That is kind of just what we see happening when the zone makes that southern shift. Until we are 100% convinced that the zone is going to be moving down towards the Sosnovka military island, that's kind of the second best position the teams to play at.
Yeah, no, absolutely good opposition. Ooh, Ghost though. Just spying out some pixels that are moving for some very odd reasons out in the distance, but not going to be taking any of those shots just yet. Of course, just holding good positioning right now and getting great information for the rest of the team. They know exactly where Seoul Esports is hiding out and what kind of position they're actually holding. So might smell a little bit of danger later on for Seoul Esports. Now taking a look at that zone, moving on through. Some of the teams that have to take the longest rotation would be Super Young Stars up there towards Savoni. It would be one round there up towards the North Georgia Pool Containers. And even, I would say, Slimeful KT. They're up towards just Napoleona.
Yeah, it is going to be quite a bit of a range for them still to cover. But I mean, speaking about range, Ghost trying to bring in those ranged assaults. And up comes Leaders Esports as they now look to push across this western bridge. Of course, they are being met here by VST. Oh, but Zuxi getting rushed. Up comes Morteza and Wasted looking to close it up. Oh, it's a boot now. Going to be feeling that sting come in. Will they be able to get themselves out of the pressure cooker right here? No. Instead, it does seem like Leaders are going to continue with their role and looking to bring in a little bit of that repossession. But look at that, though. Fevo getting spotted out. So a beautiful bait and switch coming through here from Leaders.
Yeah, VSC, they're not really used to holding this side of the bridge. Normally they're on the main island, so not the normal rotations they would take. Maybe a little bit of a change up in preparation that they need to, just adjust, because, I mean, this is the first time that we've had such a sudden shift on Erangel. But Leaders going to be very happy to pick up some great eliminations as, of course, VST move on further into the military base island, joining, of course, Arab Golden, who normally would situate themselves here.
Yeah, so, they are, as we would maybe say, trespassing somewhat, right? But of course...
Intruders.
Yes. Of course, as we move towards the north, it is going to be lag. And the players here from Wave, keeping a very watchful eye on each other. No one really going to be jumping at the opportunity, showing a lot of that trigger discipline for the time being. But as these positions start getting closer and closer and the zone gets more decisive, that is where we are going to be seeing a lot more of the action now start to come on through. We do have the players there from Triple with a bit of a botation and doing it so in a beautiful skin. Quite the amusing approach that they are using right here. Really, really efficient.
The best boat. No one can argue. This is the best boat. I don't ever want to hear an argument to this. This is my favorite boat now. All right, yes, Triple Esports making the most stylish rotation I've seen in many a year coming through. It looks like they might find themselves just behind Desert Flame Esports, who are having a very split approach to that southwestern portion of the military base island, at least with Triple Esports. Because they have that boat, they will still be able to give themselves an exit strategy should they need to reposition. So I do like that they're actually putting time into that rotation.
Yeah, but I mean, they could essentially be pulling all the way to that far southern edge. So, I mean, that could be a very big brain play coming through from them. Meanwhile, there's going to be VST and Arab Golden getting into a little bit of that altercation. But, I mean, this is only the first of many yet to come. We got leaders looking to improve their overall positioning. Arab Golden also going to be focusing a little bit more of that effort inwards. And now it is going to be 1 million having to face off against not only the players there from Zero Tolerance, but also one round heading towards them. So I'm loving the kind of congestion coming through on that western side. But there the zone now goes, just confirming even more of a positional play over on towards that Sosnovka Island.
Absolutely, which is why 1 million is getting so much pressure from the surrounding teams, especially the late teams making their later rotations, trying to get a good position up here towards the coastal line. Taking a look at it now, Primorsk is going to be, lit on fire shortly as the teams are moving in closer and closer. Zero Tolerance, of course, being just up ahead of one round, a little bit closer to 1 million's position, but 1 million might actually go towards those dock positions there at Primorsk, holding that position. Maybe they've got a boat already in play should they need to make a quick dash into the military base island. Oh, hey, thank you for answering my question.
Well, there we go, right? No speculation needed whatsoever. But of course, it does seem also, as we look onto the map, speaking about rotations, that the players from Triple Esports that went for that southern rotation, they've run out of fuel, and they've now opted into the drink to have a bit of a swim back onto the mainland, or at least onto that southern island. But we are seeing quite a bit of congestion coming through on both bridges, right? The western one still pretty much being held by Leaders Esports, and over on towards the eastern side is going to be the players from Lag, trying to see if they can get themselves situated. But we got one shot, and the rest of the crew also just welcoming them in, looking to make it pretty difficult for anyone to rotate across.
It must feel so good for Seoul Esports to finally be on the other end of a bridge camp. This time, they get to sit and wait and welcome the teams into their known territory. Of course, a lot of teams in and around the area to try and do the same here towards the western side. It is Leaders in Darkness who have taken up this great position, but now they're fighting for control. They're fighting for supremacy to see who's going to be picking up those eliminations first.
Yeah, so far, some pretty good positions being held by both teams. We can not really see anyone sitting at a disadvantage here, but it's all going to come down to how these positions then get played out. We have Wave also on the approach, and that could maybe bring in a few of those upsets, but now Wasted is going to be looking to reach in with the utility, sending those grenades right on through. Could that be the confirmation? Or no? Fortunately for Darkness, it is not. But up comes the rush now. Leaders using the opportunity presented to them to just full on send it and just dial up the aggression.
Absolutely. Moving on into this territory, it is Tornado that's not looking too great in terms of the HP bars, but Wasted with the prime flanking position. And again, Leaders Esports, there are only 3 players invested into this altercation, so they do at least have one player on the sidelines just holding and wait, seeing if they need to hold for any sort of flanking rotations or long distance engagements. But of course, it is going to come down to those final triggers. Leaders now looking for an opportunity to get involved, but they're hesitant. They first need to find an opener.
Yeah, but they don't have all the information they need to get that full-on push going up. Of course, we are seeing a little bit of an off-position angle being played there by Shadowin as well, right? Just trying to keep that extra bit of security and also trying to find those additional angles. But Morteza now going to come rushing on forward. So excited that they've gone all stiff, but up comes the push now. Morteza applying the pressure, waiting to see if they can find the angles on towards Zildal here. Oh, a little bit of chase, but not finding it. A great escape being pulled off right then and there. But, Leaders will continue with the efforts, finding that knock, but it's a fair trade on either side.
Yeah, Morteza definitely needs to bring the T-pose back in because it's clearly some great luck moving into this altercation. Again, Darkness. Salah is down. Ghost now trying to go for that rest just on the outskirts, but Morteza might be taking this as the push alongside with the teammates. They are looking for this final confirmation. Around the corner they go, finding that connection onto Ghost. Salah is going to be going down.
Oof. Yeah, that is a very unfortunate play, but now it all turns on to Iron to see whether or not they can keep up the front here, but Morteza trying to just push on in. Let's see whether or not this is going to be on the boards for them, but Leaders just stepping up so aggressively. Up comes Wave adding into the mix, so whichever way this kind of one plays out, Wave is going to look to come through with those third-party plays as well.
Absolutely. Moving on forward, we still keep our eyes on Leaders Esports here. They still have their numbers. Darkness definitely have the pressure riding on their shoulders. Tornado not even with an inch of HP to work with. And now all of a sudden, it's Zakaria joining the fray alongside D3S. Tornado might not be in this match for much longer as we see that HP bar not looking the greatest.
Well, we'll see where this one goes. Of course, there's going to be those utilities getting cooked up once again. Up comes Zakaria, pushing forward, finding the trade on towards Tornado. Down they go, but now it is going to be Ivar to get caught out in the open there. As Morteza just jumps at the opportunity. Gary Boy still in contention as well, trying to lock it down. But let's see where it goes. Wave trying to close up, moving forward. Leaders now trying to patch up. They're wounded here. But Wave still riding the storm. Could maybe just absolutely obliterate the rest of the opposition here. But it's not going to be an easy one because Leaders making it so dang difficult.
And of course, it doesn't guarantee that Wave Esports is going to be the last third party to join this action. Super Young Stars not far off already on the bridge, making their approach, already going to be hearing and seeing all of this utility going down. So they know exactly what is happening. They might look for a piece of the action.
Oh, but up goes the third party hits. D3S locks it in. Down goes Wasted. Is he going to get the confirmation though? Up comes the opportunity, but Morteza just putting so much damage into Wave. It is going to be D3S stopped right in their tracks. Zakaria getting downed. Let's see what Rhino has in stores. They look to push on forward. D3S secures Shadowin. Oh, but look at this. Morteza definitely a force to be reckoned with. Strafing on forward, finding the hits, and with that, sending away Wave. But as you've mentioned, they're not out of the woods just yet, right? Iron holding strong. And of course, the Super Young Stars now rolling up as well.
Yeah, they're going to have an opportunity here to jump in and pick up some great eliminations if they choose to take this turn. I'm just keeping my eyes peeled on that mini-map. It does look like they're taking a little bit of an approach here. They're going to be taking their time, however, because they don't want to jump in just to the craziness just yet. But that zone is going to provide Super Young Stars and Arab Golden VST a great opportunity moving on forward as they find themselves fantastically zone-blessed.
Yeah, but this is definitely quite a challenging zone to come through, right? As we can see on the screen, there's going to be Soul and Slime 4KT fighting it out on this very northeastern edge. But neither of these teams having that security of the zone itself just yet. But of course, here we go now. It's going to be that opportunity to shine as Soul Esports look to find a few of the trades, finds a little bit of damage on towards Plaza. But now Raouf having to try and figure out how they're going to make this one fall into place. Again, not the easiest position to play out, but maybe Slime could look to disengage as we are seeing them starting to fall back, heading a little bit closer towards the zone. Still a lot of pressure coming in on the southern edge of the zone as well, right? Mad Knight alongside Virtual Gaming, Triple Esports also just hanging around in the vicinity. But Kingerman showing that trigger discipline. Oh, there we go. Takes aim at Gaddafi, but unfortunately, it proves to be quite challenging.
The observers can just read my mind. I was looking at the southern position with Mad Knight, Virtual Gaming, and Triple Esports. Triple Esports just managed to disengage, unfortunately pulling us alongside, again, Arab Golden. So those contentions continue as a 1-for-1 trade comes through. Triple Esports still looking for an opportunity to really get back at Arab Golden while they try and relocate, getting a better angle into this contention.
Well, let's see where this one goes. It is going to be up to Kimos and the rest of the squad now, having to apply the pressure. Ban just positioned up ahead. And that kind of gatekeep play not working out in favor here of Arab Golden. They definitely had the angles to try and pull that one off. But of course, now Ban having to make a break for it, pushing further and further in towards the zone, just having to try and regroup back into the safety. But Triple now coming through with that full onslaught, moving up, setting up the utilities. But we got Virtual Gaming moving in on the opposite end. And this is where we could see two players, Wiz and Angelo, potentially falling to these angles now.
Oh, this is going to be a difficult opportunity for them to try and fight it on out. 7 Reef moving up that ridge line, but has to double back to try and get the reses going here. Ban has gone down. Lazy Boy now finding Morteza on the other side of things. Does mean that we're seeing all of these teams starting to really whittle away at the leftover numbers. 13 teams still left alive. Wiz now, of course, has to try and get back into this. Ban is all but gone. And Triple Esports, they look to take this further.
Yeah, Kimo's now just trying to capitalize on that play, but up comes the blue zone, so I don't know if that one's going to be on the cards just yet. Meanwhile, Erangel are now continuing the rest of their positioning here. It is going to be Sin and Angelo having to face off, as it is Wiz now to get taken right on down. 7 Reef laying it on quite thick. Angelo trying to quickly bring Sin back into contention. 7 Reef on the approach, but not going to be full sending it just yet, right? Doing that due diligence because they don't have enough information. But we also see the same play coming through from Virtual Gaming alongside them, so still a very challenging play down south, but even more so up on towards the north and towards that southeastern edge.
It's time to be expected here because that zone just doesn't have a lot of hard cover to work with here. But M7MD says it's fine. I'm going to find you regardless, no matter where you are going to be hiding. I'm going to be taking you out. The confirmation is finally there for Triple Esports, and they are riding high with 4 eliminations. But now they need to face off against Virtual Gaming.
Yep, up they come, rushing in at the opportunity. Kudos on at the players here from Virtual Gaming, not backing out of any potential gains that could be had. But Zeus not having the easiest time finding those connections just then. But it does seem like the rest of the team are going to be looking for a bit of a play towards that more northern approach, right? You can see one shot, taking that plunge, trying to get themselves situated. Of course, finding themselves alongside Klasa and Flacco from the Desert Flame team. But Virtual Gaming now having to make that decision. Are they going to look to apply the pressure on towards Triple Esports, or will they turn their focus on positioning instead?
Well, let's take a look at this. Virtual Gaming now making a little bit of a dash. In the meanwhile, they are going to make a pit stop just to take a piece of Lag. At least A9Q will go down. The rest of Lag now trying to scramble to see where those shots are coming from and how they can try and control the situation.
Oh, but look at this. Look at the Zeus now having to decide, right? Are they going to try and take triple, or will they look to continue on to Lag? Oh, 7 Reef now getting greeted. Finds quite a bit of damage, but of course those third-party angles being played out. Up comes that 2-2 split, and it works out for Triple as Virtual Gaming gets shot right then. But now, Triple moving into Lag. That 2-2 split from Triple could be a great possession, but that's not going to work out as it is. Chemos and the side of M7MD getting taken down on the opposite end. And now all the pressure turns on towards Vibe 7 and 7 Reef to try and reclaim their position.
Yeah, so 7 Reef has joined the party just behind Kimos, trying to get that res on up as M7MD does get confirmed. But the nades, they're not going to stop from Lag at any point in time. So Kimo gets confirmed. 7 Reef takes a whole chunk of damage. And now, well, that rotation was for nothing because now they need to get themselves out of the situation. Fantasy going to be muddling on through with that fantastic spray. It does mean that Triple Esports, unfortunately, are down to only 1 member remaining.
Yeah, a very, very devastating play indeed. But with that, we also see the players there from 1 million meeting their end. Zero Tolerance holding that advance back in towards the zone. We also see Super Young Stars going toe-to-toe with Slimeful KT and Mad Knight and VST facing off over on towards this very, very edge position. But here we go. It is going to be the Beast to step on through. Finds at Leno in the trade. Kingdom and the rest of the crew yet to move on forward. But Slimeful KT now turning all their focus down onto the Super Young Stars. Winky with a great spray, but will it be sufficient? Up comes the rush. Super low in the health bar. Pronto trying to dance around the vehicles. And this could be that decisive play, right? Storm's also still holding on for the team. Oh, but it's not going to be on the cards. Super Young Stars gets taken right on down.
And Slimeful KT, I don't even know if they're going to be able to survive this. We'll have to wait and see. Zone centering up here towards Klasa and Lag, holding a prime position. Of course, Zero Tolerance want a piece of that action, and they are fighting to take this location away from Lag Esports before they move on in. In the meanwhile, we are taking a look at a few other teams that still need to make their approach. Slimeful KT in particular, coming through from that northern side of the zone. They have a great opportunity to get in zone, but once they're there, not a lot of cover to work with.
Yeah, I mean, especially looking at the terrain that they are moving towards, it's going to be quite the challenging one to play it out. But, oh, there we go. YC trying to put up, but it's going to be Itzabud to put up that first defensive possession with Twix coming through to close it off. Down we go to 7 remaining hopefuls, or hopeful teams, rather. Slime, Zero Tolerance, still riding pretty high. So you can see each team sitting there with 4 players remaining. But again, both these teams need to get themselves back in towards that zone. It's already occupied by Klasa from Desert Flame and the remaining players from the side of Lag. Not quite sure how they're going to get that approach locked in.
Yeah, no, this is going to be a very difficult situation. Zero Tolerance, they have fantastic numbers, but again, they don't have the positioning. Klasa is in zone, Lag is in zone, even Vibe 7 from Triple Esports might just be around the corner from stepping into zone. But the cover, it's not quite there. It is trees, it is a hilltop, it is such an exposed location that even with the superior numbers that Zero Tolerance holds, they're going to be putting themselves in the line of fire, and that's not where you want to go. So they're going to hold off until it's absolutely necessary. Meanwhile, Slime4KT looking to gatekeep Seoul Esports from making any kind of approach.
Well, this could be the play to be had right here, but it's going to be quite a challenging play indeed. Soul not going to be backing down, as we can see YC coming through with a beautiful double knock right then and there. Twigs also going to be looking to apply a little bit of that pressure, but unfortunately does fall to the spray down. YC, meanwhile, just quickly, hastily rushing on forward. Oh, but the shots are connecting up. Storm not going to allow the pressures to be applied, but up comes Pronto, also looking to close it in. That extra little bit of pressure here. YC now in quite a bit of danger, but out comes the DBS, but it's not sufficient. That will not suffice. A Slime shuts the door. Down to the final 5 teams we are. Fantasy going to be holding strong there for the side of the LAC team, as Cacao now gets traded on down. Glassa still on the front line, but also then falls as Zero Tolerance continues to advance. And this could be quite the contentious play coming through here from Zero Tolerance.
This would be massive for Zero Tolerance. They could really make a big shift on this overall rankings. As we know, they have been sitting on that 2nd to 3rd page. They haven't managed to get themselves in a massive, massive game to really shake things up. But this could be it. Now moving on through from that west to north position as they take that 2-2 split. At least one half of Zero Tolerance has an easier line of sight into the zone. But of course, we know Fantasy hiding in the bushes could be a very surprising factor for either Zero Tolerance or Slime4KT to take it away from them.
Yeah, that could be somewhat of a decisive factor to play. But let's see now, right? It is going to be Vortex trying to just up that loot a little bit, moving into this last fight. I think this is quite the decision to be made, right? Because some great timing on that extra bit of utility, but it's going to be Slime4KT already starting with those nades getting sent out. But it's going to come down to how Zero Tolerance look to answer the questions being asked here by the players from Slime4KT, because Slime holding on to that ridgeline, but I'm loving this play coming through from Paradox and Lord, moving onto the ridgeline, trying to see if they can find those angles to relay the information down to the rest of the crew.
It's Plaza having a flanking position here, trying to get information, but now making the push up into Lord. Potentially, that vehicle is going to spot out danger for Lord holding that line, but is Plaza going to be able to see Lord to take the... There it is!
Oh.
Lord goes down, and now Zero Tolerance are on the back foot.
Well, easy claps coming through here for Plaza. Stepping up, capitalizing on it. It's going to be, of course, now the final hopeful there to fall as Fantasy gets sent away. But now, Slime4KT looking to show the dominant Skydo. Just holding up ahead, going to be the final contender, and they also fall as Slime4KT locks in yet another winner chicken dinner. But if I'm not mistaken, this was potentially one of their only few chicken dinners. In fact, I think that was the first winner chicken dinner for Slime4KT in the 2nd week.
Okay, so we are having a very surprising day so far. Picking up their first winner chicken dinner, it is Slime4KT. We'll check the overall standings later on, but I'm pretty sure you're right, DK. I don't remember a Slime4KT winning situation until today. And as we know, they were the team to take the most amount of bonus points in the first phase. So it's good to see our phase 1, if you call it winners, stepping up into phase 2 and really starting us with a fantastic winner chicken dinner.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a bit of a slow roll, but eventually, right, they are starting to rebuild that momentum once again. And what better way to do it other than locking in such a glorious winner-winner chicken dinner with those 13 eliminations. Great playing coming through there from Slime. It was just a matter of time before we saw that coming in once again. But of course, as we know, right, we still have one more map to go, and that is going to be over on Sanhok, where we are heading into that absolutely close quarter altercations. And this is where the teams will have an opportunity to lock in that extra bit of aggression, locking in those elimination points, and potentially rising to the occasion and succeeding in locking in those plays. But of course, also talking about succeeding, right, we need to give a big shout out to our sponsors as well. So first up, a big shout out going out to Oppo. So Born to Win, welcome to the exciting match brought to you by Oppo. Get your gamer mode on with the much loved Reno 7 series. And aside from Oppo, we need to give a big thank you. Thank you there, Ez. But a big thank you also going out to Monster Energy, our official energy drink partners for the PUBG Mobile Pro Leagues. And again, right, Slime 4KT, I'm loving the colors that are very, very similar, right? Slime definitely capitalizing on a little bit of that extra much needed energy to step up and get themselves that winner-winner chicken dinner.
They absolutely made a beautiful push there towards the final moments, and it was a very difficult opportunity for them to actually make it happen because, as we know, Zero Tolerance, they had a bit of a better approach into that final zone, but, well, we saw what those vehicles can do from Slime 4KT. Plaza moved into the perfect flanking position, and then it was just all on the cards for Slime 4KT. But let's take a look at the match rankings to see how exactly they made it happen and how many points they picked up from that one singular Erangel. DK, it's going to be 27. Come on,
yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, there ain't nothing wrong with a good and healthy 27 points being acquired. But of course, we see Zero Tolerance also stepping it up, right? 7 eliminations for that second place, 19 points in total. This is the kind of performance we've been waiting to see from Zero Tolerance. We know that they've been having a little bit of a tough run, but this really makes up for it. Well, at least to build that team morale. Right now, they just need to hold down on it and just keep on riding this beautiful momentum.
Absolutely, and I would hope that they will continue it. But of course, we know fantastic work from a few of the other teams like Seoul Esports, Desert Flame, Triple E as well. Once again, making a great just presence known, as well as TEAMLAG and Zero Tolerance up here towards the first part of those rankings. As we know, for some of the teams, it is vital that they pick up any and every single amount of points that they can possibly get. And these sort of 19-pointer games really do go far into making a fantastic shift for these teams on the overall rankings when you take a look at that a little bit later on. So this first page, it's looking phenomenal. Of course, we do have to move on to the second page because we can see, once again, we're following suit with that theme of having a very top-heavy match rankings. Slime 4KT, I mean, we're going 27, 19, 13, 13. It is a very top-heavy match on the first page.
Yeah, definitely quite the top-heavy play there. And of course, we did see the players from Leaders also being situated there. That early rotation from them really paying off. And few of their victims we find on the second page, right? Leaders locking in those 9 eliminations. But that then, of course, results in a few of the other teams not finding as many points. VST walking away with 3 alongside 1 million and Virtual Gaming all coming in with the exact same amount of eliminations and placement points. But then it gets a little bit more scarce, right? Super Young Stars, App Golden, Darkness, Wave only awarded 1. And strangely enough, 1 round. Having this 1 round where they don't find any points.
Yeah, you did it on purpose there. But yeah, it at least is looking somewhat better. So we're not seeing at least all 4 of the bottom teams on the match rankings having nothing whatsoever. There's some sort of contention. There's some sort of points at least given away. It's not as much as the teams obviously want, but it's something, right? It's some show of effort and opportunity. Let's take a look at those highlights just to remind ourselves how exactly the teams got into the situation to begin with. And again, those military-based third-party action plays, it all came down to this crazy zone shift we had.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta say I'm loving the zone shift though, right? Nothing wrong with a little bit of that northern action to come on through. But this is that earlier rotation I was talking about by Leaders, right? They've rotated across, got themselves situated. But then it became a little bit of a stalemate play there. Unfortunately, not working out too favorably for them. But Zero Tolerance definitely stepping up with the contention here, making it quite challenging. But unfortunately, we didn't see that final bit of, insanity coming from Skydo. Instead, they got taken down the same way that they got taken on over on Miramar.
Yeah, it did have to happen in the end. But hey, there is a great opportunity for the teams, of course, to come back on Sanhok and to bring us a little bit more of that energy as our last game of the day. So DK, I do think we might just have to rest our voices, maybe for a brief moment.
Yeah, quick break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned with more crazy action.
Stalemate? No problem. Ultimate Arena decides the victor. Hello and welcome back to our break. It was quick, fast, and of course now we're getting ready to move into even more action. We are going to be moving into a map where the teams can actually apply their strategies moving about quick, fast, right? It is going to be none other than Sanhok. Going to be allowing the teams a little bit of that, extra added little bit of aggression to come on through, as there's not going to be too much space for them to move about and really play, those more kind of Miramar approaches. But that extra change up is going to be quite exciting, as the teams will have to step up and shake things up. So, of course, to give you an idea as to how much shaking we'll need to see, we are going to be taking a look at these overall rankings. Of course, Titans now gracing us with an absolutely titanic 300 points.
I mean, hello? We had Slime 4KT just narrowly making it into the 300 marker as the winners, quote-unquote, of Phase 1. And that was after Livik. I might remind you. So Titans, again, just goes to show the absolutely dominating performance that they've put up for the second phase. But of course, 1 million, they were 213, not making a massive jump to try and close the gap between Titans, but you can see there's some sort of consistency there.
I mean, it's crazy, right? Leaders almost having half the points of Titans, and that's the difference between first and third place. Right, that's scary. That's scary.
Terrifying.
But Titans just playing such an absolutely phenomenal play. Already we can see them sitting on those 6 winner chicken dinners. That just adds on top of the chicken dinners that they brought in from last week. I think they're sitting on 9 or 10 or something crazy like that. So that's an absolutely insane performance. But of course, the contention is still ongoing, right? Aside from that big gap that we've got at the top, it is still a very, very close situation all the way down, especially on the second page.
Yeah, and moving into the third page, we know Wave Esports currently holds 75. VST, once again, still the guardians of the top 12 gate into potentially going into Livik. So, as we take a look at some of these scores, we are once again reminded how good the teams have been at staying contentious, staying competitive, moving into these games. Of course, today has been a very aggressive push from these teams, trying to close those gaps, but it's looking a lot healthier, as we keep saying, from compared to, of course, week one.
Yeah, of course, we are going to be hopping straight into our match right now, but, you know, we'll still give you the standings of the other 4 teams that we have. We got the players there from Blackjack, situated in 17th place with 74 points, so 1 point behind the players from Wave Esports. Darkness, of course, in 18th, sitting on 67. We got Legends of War on 61, and Mad Knight on 58. You can see it right there on the left-hand side of the screen as well. So, you know, all the teams still in pretty close proximity with regards to the points. Still going to be waiting to see when Mad Knight is going to be looking to just blow us away. They've come so close, but we want to see them go all the way.
Absolutely. One massive game could literally mean the difference between them sitting in 20th, maybe even all the way up into, I don't know, 12th position if you want to be that crazy. Because, I mean, VST is only on 87 points. You know, it's not that far away. Who knows? Maybe they'll bring a crazy game. But looking at the zone, of course, it is Sanhok, so we're not too stressed in terms of the rotations these teams are going to have to make. It is very south, I guess you could say, but there's still a very easy pathing for these teams.
Yeah, it is rather south. It could have been even more south, but, you know, we'll settle with what we've got. We're happy with it. We're going to look to see where the teams will be looking to push in towards. Of course, VSC already blessed within that Painan position. It's not too often that we see Painan being smack dab center zone, so quite a favorable angle. And as we know, that is also at times seen as a bit of that, you know, kind of transitional area for teams to move from the one side of the map to the opposite end. But I'm loving the position being held there by Wave alongside Seoul Esports, right? They can apply a lot of pressure moving through. And essentially, we want to see Wave lock in a few of those points, right? We know they're sitting on 75 points, and they are so close. Only 10 points away from maybe gaining up in towards that top 12.
Oh, so close, yet so far, sometimes it feels like. But we'll see. The teams have one more map, at least today, to prove themselves and to just try and shift up the rankings in preparation for our last day tomorrow, where they will have 4 more maps before we head into the decide about who's going to be going into Livik. Of course, that's 4 maps for every single group, but there's 5 in total. Quick math. But looking at the rest of the teams, we've got Slime, 1 million rather. They're up towards the very northern portion of Sanhok, there by Kao. So, and that Mok a little bit split out as they are currently holding some weird positions, but be interested to see how they're going to transition that going through into the zone. Of course, we know it's Mad Knight. They're over towards Hatin, and it does seem that there's at least 2 scouts from either side having a bit of a staring contest.
Well, I mean, there's something that I also just noticed, right? The player that we were on there, Angelo from Arab Golden, actually putting out the spike strip.
Hey.
I don't think I've ever seen someone really applying the spike strip onto a bridge.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a little bit of an exciting play if someone should venture over that bridge. I mean, I've never really seen that being put into use.
No.
Or put to use, so who knows? Maybe this could be the first time we actually have it happen. Well, the first time that I'll see it. But either which way, yes, the zone itself is looking still rather comfortable, right? We're not seeing too much of a show of aggression, aside from, you know, the little bit of a play coming through here from Hemo. But Hemo is quite separated from the rest of the team, though. I mean, not by much. It is Sanhok, so, you know, they are still within reach of each other. But I'm loving that position coming through from Raouf. You know, just also creeping on closer, trying to bring in that extra little bit of a pincer play on towards Rhino.
Yeah, so they're holding a bit of a 2-2 split here. Of course, the rest of Seoul Esports a little bit closer to Ruins, holding that position for the time being, but they also just jumped into a vehicle and are taking an approach. So maybe they might be descending upon Wave Esports. Titans, of course, 1 or 2 shots have sent their way through to Blackjack Esports, and also, of course, Lag, who currently have one of their members knocked, looking for that res, as we can see just on the edge of that map feed. Now, Rhino, hello. Finding Hemo. So, yeah, that didn't last too long. But unfortunately for Seoul Esports, even though they are bringing in the cavalry and all of their numbers are here, where's the return? We need that revenge.
Well, we'll be seeing it pretty soon as the teams are going to be looking to step it up and just shake up the tables, right? We want to have that extra little bit of action as they now look to continue it for us here. But I got to give a big ups there to Rhino, right? It's not always easy to, get those sprays in that quickly. But Rhino stepping up to the challenge, succeeding in doing exactly that. And now it is going to be up to the players here from Seoul deciding whether or not they want to try and maybe wrap around or disengage entirely. It does seem like they are committing a little bit more towards that ruin side. But of course, zero tolerance, or rather the players here from the Super Young Stars, that doesn't even sound remotely the same, right? But Super Young Stars find themselves in a bit of an altercation against the players here from Legends of War. And zero tolerance, they are just over onto the eastern side, right? Alongside Legends. So this could be a few interesting plays coming through now.
Yeah, we don't always know how your brain works, DK, but it works. That's all that
Neither
matters.
do I. I also don't know how it works.
But for the teams, on the other hand, at least they just need to worry about how their brains work. That's all that matters. Super Young Stars here up towards the hilltop, holding a great opportunity of information should they venture forward into either Legends of War or Leaders Esports. But we'll wait and see if they're going to actually make any sort of moves, as we do know that all of this is happening within the zone, so maybe they want to stay quiet just for the time being. But Leaders, on the other hand, said no. We want Legends of War. We want that L on L action.
Yeah, I mean, Flick, of course, responding to that with a beautiful spray down onto with Shadowin, but it's going to be up to Carry Boy and Morteza now, just rushing on forward. Oh, 2-on-1 action as Obesa goes right on down. But it still grants a bit of an opportunity here to Power Boy. Even Flick got taken down just then, but out comes the nade. Could this be the response? Oh, it is close. Nope, doesn't find the damage. Unfortunately there for Power Boy, but up comes the Super Young Stars now looking to crash the party as well.
We did say they were up on the hilltop. They had all of the information. They knew what was going on here. Powerboy, thankfully, ready for Zeref, but are they ready for Messi? Messi already jumping into the vehicle, trying to make a dash back into safety, while Powerboy just asserts their dominance as the last remaining member here of Legends. And Leaders looks to take a piece of Super Young Stars as well. So this is completely turned on its head for Super Young Stars.
Yeah, but I'm loving the sprays coming through here from Winky right down on towards Wasted, and now Morteza and Gary Boy having to quickly retreat. But it's just that extra little bit of aggression, right? Super Young Stars pushing forward, laying down a few hits, and then retreating back up the hillside. But Power Boy not having too much of a fortunate position here, right? Has the opportunity to get themselves at least sorted with a few extra additional weapons, grabbing some extra loot. But again, right, the challenge will continue to be there as Leaders have not yet abandoned this position.
And I don't think they're going to at any point in time, right? They were the ones who engaged and started all of this. They were the ones who really picked the fights where it mattered most. And so why would they run away when they've done so well in nearly completing this? And it's only Power Boy left up against them to completely take out Legends of War. But as you can see, the nade's moving on it. It's Carry Boy. It is Morteza here. The double team is on it. And Legends of War will be sent back into the lobby thanks to Leaders who have brought in such a beautiful fight.
Yeah, I mean, Carry Boy carrying on and just, making sure that they get that conclusion kind of wrapped up. But of course, as we move a little bit further up, just slight bit over towards the eastern side, it is going to be the Super Young Stars now looking to get themselves repositioned into a little bit more of a favorable angle. Unfortunately, down to 2, right? It's going to be Winky and Murt now trying to see what they can bring on with regards to longevity. Strangely enough, 1 million still all the way out towards Kao, Mong Nai, the usual kind of place. But a little bit of a delayed rotation coming through on that side. But we do see the Titans, however, are looking to claim a hilltop for themselves as they look to move in. Zero Tolerance keeping a very watchful eye on them as well.
As we take a look at this, of course, Zero Tolerance, we know they were just close, just shy of taking up that winner chicken dinner on the previous map. Unfortunately, just falling just a tad, short there to Slime 4KT. But now, on the bright side for Zero Tolerance, Slime 4KT is not involved in Sanhok whatsoever. Thank goodness, because we know how Slime 4KT is on Sanhok. So they could potentially take this further, and I would like to see them take this further. I want a Zero Tolerance win, right? We want to see that big splash on the overall leaderboard.
Yeah, we'll have zero tolerance for anything else. No, I'm joking. We don't have any say in what happens out on the battlefield. But of course, it is going to be that opportunity still present for the teams. We are seeing the players there from Blackjack creeping in behind the players from Lag. So Chrono could find a bit of an opportunity on towards Kakao there. As you can see them now just in hot pursuit as they move on forward, but there's still quite a bit of distance between them. So I'm not expecting anything to happen just yet. But we have Fantasy a little bit further up ahead, right there on the water's edge, and A9Q moving in now behind Arab Golden. So there could be a few interesting developments coming through here as the teams are progressing further and further in towards that zone.
Yeah, unsurprisingly, there's only one team that hasn't made it into the zone, and it is, of course, 1 million esports, which is at this point just expected for them, especially on a map like Sanhok. They do tend to be one of the slower teams to approach the zone, just because they have a very specific strategy they employ on Sanhok, where they would potentially leave someone out, running the heel of strat should something happen with the rest of the squads. But we'll see them join later on, as we do see that zone once again just centering up, really favoring that position of Pi Nun, which we do know tends to get a little bit crazy in the later phases of Sanhok.
Yeah, sometimes, right? Not always, but sometimes. There is going to be that opportunity for that, and that could, of course, be that opportunity for VST to try and capitalize on top of. But it is going to be the situation where everybody's now just looking to get themselves a little bit more of a solidification as they move on through. VST now rather scattered out, and I think this is pretty great for them, right? Having the opportunity to do that due diligence, keep their eyes on the terrain, waiting for any of those pixels to look out of place. And I mean, with the Legend on the approach, that could be exactly what Zuxi now needs to deal with.
Absolutely. As we take on through a look into the rest of the teams taking their approach as well, VST just further up, but very close in contention with Leaders Esports. So with them running that 2-2 split, of course, it will be interesting to see how they take this engagement. Blackjack Esports also moving in closer to that cave position just behind Titans and Zero Tolerance, who have themselves set up towards the eastern side. So this could be a nice, interesting opportunity, because that might force Titans into Leaders, which again, we know those third-party actions on Sanhok, it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, but I mean, we are yet to see the teams on the outlying regions, right? Like Lag, Wave, Triple Esports, Desert Flame really commit to one particular rotation, right? They are still just a slightest bit hesitant, not moving in fully just yet. But we are seeing, though, the players here from Seoul pretty much looking to lock down this compound, or these compounds that they find themselves in. Also, a little bit of a spread coming through here. We do have Twix, a slight tad smidge separated from the rest of the crew, but this could be quite favorable for them, right? They've got those angles on towards the players from Mad Knight just up ahead.
What I don't really like is this opportunity for Wave Esports, because yes, they can move into the zone quite nicely, but Triple Esports just behind them, as we saw on that ridge line. So as they might focus on towards Myth, who is very scattered up, and it is a very, delectable opportunity for them to get involved and potentially take Myth out, they might get tunnel visioned and get a third party from Triple Esports. So again, if we take a look at the rest of the map, there's a lot of opportunities for these third parties to really start kicking off, especially with that zone. Now, once again, shifting closer to Painan and Bootcamp.
Yeah, but I think this is going to be a great opportunity for 1 million, right? They are now making their approach towards that zone. And they are very likely to just stop towards that northeastern side, in and around that bootcamp territory. But this is going to be, of course, then resulting in quite a bit of congestion coming in from that southern edge. As we did see that zone taking the northern position, it's going to force teams like Triple, like Lag, Arab Golden, Myth, Desert Flame, Wave. All of them still need to get themselves situated moving in towards the zone. And unfortunately, there's not a lot of space really to work with.
No, not whatsoever, especially since all of the teams are moving in from one central location. It's only 1 million coming in from the northern side, as you've mentioned. So that southern point of the zone, Pi Nun, is going to be lit on fire as all of these teams are heading into safety. Of course, Seoul Esports now might have to face up against Leaders once again. And all of this will happen within zone. So unfortunately for them, if they start picking these fights, this is just going to signal on to the rest of the teams to get involved for some third-party action.
Yeah, but especially at this point in time, looking at the kind of options these teams have, right? I think the elevated positions are going to be quite favorable. Leaders already adopting that elevated angle. We do see the players from Mad Knight also moving towards those bootcamp hills. And looking at the sheer number of players and the limited amount of space they have to work with, I think this is where it's going to come down to, kind of that attrition being at play here, right? Titans also going to be moving in from that eastern side
taking aim at Darkness, rather Blackjack, who has now been reduced down to only Chronal. We see just off in the distance there. But again, not the most aggressive showing coming through from the Titan squad, right? They're just moving in, taking the opportunities as they come on through. But I'm expecting Titan to really start dialing it up once they move into these next few phases.
Leaders, of course, still applying the pressure here to Seoul Esports, who we know has unfortunately already lost Hemo, has now lost another, and is down to only Rauf and Twix to try and hold the line here. YC not able to get involved, unfortunately. Mad Knight now moving on into this territory, at least for Scola. Just, doing a little bit of a scout action, doing their due diligence before they get invested whatsoever. But leaders, this might be the opportunity for them to move on forward and take out at least another team.
Yeah, it's almost that try before you buy. But fortunately, we did see at least a good effort being brought through there by Chronal. Getting at least that knock in towards Titan Gaming. But unfortunately, the pressure just a little bit too much as we've got Zero Tolerance also holding up in the vicinity. But a beautiful position there for Zero Tolerance. Meanwhile, back onto leaders, it's going to be still that continuation of the pressure, right? Trying to find that closure with the players from Seoul. Twix having to abandon that race on towards Rauf as leaders come rushing on forward, and with that seals their fate. But Mad Knight going to be moving in. You see that third-party opportunity about to come on through as the zone now does center quite favorably on towards leaders Esports. They're not going to be moving about too much. Morteza just patiently waiting there on the very edge, hoping to see if anyone's going to try and maybe move towards them.
But of course, as we mentioned, Wascola was the scout here for Mad Knight and has now spotted that information onto Morteza and potentially even Shadowin with the pixels just showing just briefly. So, of course, leaders prime positioning for them. Smack bam, center zone with hard cover, with the compound in their control. It is going to be up to them to try and keep control of this moving into the latter phase of Sanhok. As we know, Titans yet to make their approach into that safety because, of course, Zero Tolerance stands in their way, just gatekeeping their entry path. So Puncher and P6 now, they have quite a little bit of a tall order here to work with. They're going to be trying and opting rather to enter in that northern region.
Yeah, well, they're going to be trying it, but of course, you can't say no to an opportunity onto any other player up ahead. And that's kind of the approach that we know Titans like to bring to the table. Of course, now a 2-2 split in favor of Zero Tolerance is going to be making it quite challenging for Titans to get that confirmation secured. But here we go. Lord doing the due diligence, finding those sprays on the ridgeline, forcing the hand of Titans, and they are not yet able to find a good entry point. Instead, they're not finding any place really to move towards, right? There's a little bit of that back and forth coming through. While the rest of the teams in the lobby are going to be looking to keep on those rotations. Buncher will be taking a little bit of that extra damage as Skydo finds the angles. But again, not sufficiently so to get that knock confirmed.
Puncher, of course, now. HP bar is not looking too great, but has an opportunity to at least try and make a dash into the zone. But Paradox has been sitting, lying in wait. The perfect opportunity is going to be there, so Puncher will be going down. But what will P6 be able to do? Trying to close that gap, trying to close that space between themselves and Paradox, moving closer and closer. Paradox out in the open, and P6 just looking for an angle.
Oh, up comes an 8. This could be the play now. P6 not going to go down without a fight. But will they find that on towards Paradox? They do find quite a bit of damage, though. Paradox now having to quickly try and patch that one up. The rest of the squad, meanwhile, will have been relocating towards the safety of the zone itself. So it is going to be quite the isolated altercation between Paradox and P6. The blue zone is going to eat them alive. Oh, will Paradox make it? On the very edge, out comes their continuation. P6 trying to secure it, and they do. There we have it. At least a knock, but not yet a confirmation. But P6 not going to be backing out just yet.
No, not whatsoever. Now moving on forward into the rest of this. Zero Tolerance, of course, trying to just give a helping hand. Not going to be able to make any sort of recovery, but maybe they can at least finish off the rest of Titans as P6 starts to bleed out in the zone. We can see VST in the meanwhile taking up hold and defensive lines here against Arab Golden. And again, unfortunately for VST here, they have to still get themselves in zone.
Well, the same can be said for Arab Golden, right? Neither of these teams have that anchor point secured just yet, but it is going to be quite the challenge, though. We see Lag also just behind them, having quite the unfortunate turn of events happening towards them. But here we go. It's a Brood making that plunge, getting that anchor point secured. Now up comes Sin for the rest of Arab Golden alongside Ban. Trying to get that opportunity to work out for them. But Fivo going to keep that gatekeep locked on down. Oh, it is going to be Angelo to be confirmed up next. And Arab Golden down to 3. We got Wiz at least now making a bit of a play over towards that more southern angle, right? Just trying to sneak on through. Spots a bit of a vantage point. And down goes Atlano. Beautiful sneak approach.
Oh, this is what we love to see, just picking up and capitalizing on any and every opportunity that runs away. But Zaxi now for the trade. Wisco's down, and VST can move on forward as the rest of the teams are still looking for their spacing in zone. It is Ban out in the blue alongside Sin, trying to stay alive, and I'm not sure how they'll be able to enter the zone.
Well, yeah, we don't really know whatsoever, but it is going to be Desert Flame now to come rushing on forward. Oh, and down they go. It is going to be the end of the road as Fivo puts the spray into Flacco, locking their fate down. Zero tolerance now. Still having quite a bit of ground to cover, but they have some decent numbers moving in. Still having to contend against Marshall and Lazy Boy, but Marshall is going to be downed. And that now opens up a beautiful opportunity here. Only Lazy Boy standing between Zero Tolerance and the edge towards this eastern side. Down to the final 7 teams, right? Up comes the continuation. Lord now secures the elimination. Ooh, Wiscola falls just up ahead to the blue as well. Lazy Boy now going to be looking to see if they can maybe find a bit of an angle on towards Zero Tolerance. Spots the opportunity on towards Vortex and drives it home. Oh, down goes Lazy Boy.
Yes, this is the return that we needed. Lord stepping up to the plate and immediately finding those trades. You've got Senke out in the blue, not surprisingly, unfortunately having to resolve to that heal off strat. VST in the meanwhile, with a bit of a turn of events, find themselves center zone as one of the only teams in center. But now Super Young Stars, they want this position.
Yeah, and it's going to be quite a bit of a fight to come through. Winky now already leading the damage there, but again, finds themselves alongside Murdia, like trying to see if they can ride this ridge on through. Oh, it's a Bood and Fivo laying down the utilities, finding that first knock, and now up comes Winky. Beautiful shooting, but Fivo pushes in with the S12K, and down they go. It's going to be Super Young Stars getting eliminated. Zero Tolerance still in contention, having 2 players up. Ooh, if only they knew the opportunity they had just up ahead on VST. Oh, that was so close for them. But of course, now Fivo is going to be bringing the team back into contention. As we can see, it's a Brute now back on their feet, having to try and continue the engagement here. But Zero Tolerance definitely looking quite formidable. They've got this elevated position. All they got to do now is just lock it down. And that could see them maybe getting that winner chicken dinner.
Hey, we've been waiting for this. The Zero Tolerance winner chicken dinner. They've teased us before today. Just narrowly missing out on the win on towards Erangel. But of course, now they are just moments away from potentially taking it. VST, of course, moving in from that ridge line. Well, Senke, out in the blue, just tries to heal it off. And at least they kept company, right? They've got a very, very cute doggy here just to keep them company.
Yeah, but no stranger to that heal strat, of course, Senke right there. But Skydo, Lord, having to try and close down the zone. VSC, pretty grouped together there, as we can see it's a Boot and Fivo, but they don't really have any coverage to make much use of. Instead, I would be surprised, or I wouldn't be surprised, if Zero Tolerance was able to just close out the zone. But it's all going to come down to how they play these final few positions. Skydo not really having any clear line of sight onto anything. Instead, going to try and just hide themselves behind that ridge, not wanting to expose themselves unnecessarily.
Yeah, that top-down view makes it look very, very misleading. Of course, as you mentioned, by either teams, they can't see anything. We've got a wonderful hill that's literally just distorting the views of anyone and everyone right now. While Senke tries to obviously stock up on all of the heals possible, but ooh, okay, yeah, no, this is not looking too great. That's going to be it for Senke and 1 million. And now VST and Zero Tolerance, they can just set themselves on this 2v2. That's all they need to focus on right now, is getting that first bit of information.
Yeah, Skydo already in zone. Now it's going to come down to whether or not they can find a bit of a favorable play to make here. Oh, it does find a bit of damage onto it. It's a Bood. But with that, it's going to be Skydo running out of utilities completely now. Instead, turning to the bullets. So you can see Itzabut taking quite a bit of damage. Lord comes in with a bit of a saving grace, but it's now Fivo rocking it up with the S12K, putting the shots on in. Oh, will this be the play? It's going to be a full-on fight between Lord and Fivo. Shotgun. Oh, up comes the M4 though. Oh, but it is going to be the SMGs that Uzi to lock it in, and that is the second winner chicken dinner for Zero Tolerance in this entire PMPL Africa. Glorious performance. They got their first chicken in the first week. They locked in their second chicken in the second week, and what a turn of events that was. Well done, Zero Tolerance.
Absolutely well done, Zero Tolerance. Finally closing it up, picking up the winner chicken dinner and some fantastic points to add onto their tally. Now you definitely need to keep your eye on that overall ranking to see how it's going to shift from that.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful play. I mean, they had a few opportunities where they could have striked a little bit sooner, right? But at the end of the day, they stepped up. They claimed that winner chicken dinner, so we can't fault anything there. Well done. A very well-deserved victory coming through from them. And of course, right, that is our fifth match done and dusted. And now we only have one more day of play to go. But before we get into the breakdown of today's action, we are going to be taking a minute.
Say goodbye.
Hello and welcome back to the final spot, right? The final segment right here on day 4 on the PUBG Mobile Pro League Africa Fall 2022 season. Of course, our second week has almost come to a conclusion. Only got one more day to go, but an absolutely glorious showing that we had going through in this final match over on towards Sanhok, with the players there from Zero Tolerance locking in their second winner chicken dinner, but of course their first winner chicken dinner for the second week. So an absolutely phenomenal way to close it off.
Yeah, they teased it there on Erangel, and they finished it off and closed it off. Closed the book on Sanhok with VST going down in second place, but it's good to see VST also making an appearance. As we know, they had a phenomenal week coming through in week 1. So let's take a look at those match rankings just to remind ourselves how it all went down. Zero Tolerance picking up 22 points overall, followed very closely by VST thanks to the eliminations that they picked up. And as we go down the list, we obviously see there is a little bit of a jump up in terms of those elimination points thanks to Leaders Esports, which, in no surprise, they've managed to once again stay aggressive, stay active, and pick up some great elimination points.
Yeah, I mean, Leaders Esports definitely keeping up the aggression, right? Even though they don't find the placement points, they still lock it down with eliminations, and we saw that come through on Erangel as well. So, you know, some really strong efforts being brought through. But of course, Titans getting sent away with 6 points, right? 5 of those coming through from the eliminations. But again, a very satisfying approach. 1 million not having the craziest run. I mean, it was quite surprising to see them only secure that 1 elimination, but 11 points. You know, it's nothing to be scoffed at.
No. Again, I'm going to keep saying this. You know, some points are obviously better than others. You know, it would be great to have one of those crazy 20 points a game, 30 points a games. But if you're just at least staying consistent, like Titans has been the entire day, you, if you've already put the effort in, you're just building on what you've already created. So for some of the teams, that is fine. That's all that they need. But of course, we still have a second page to take a look at. Some of the teams not quite getting what they wanted in that first map. They at least picked up some points one way or another, as we can see some great eliminations coming through from Arab Gold and Triple Esports and Wave Esports. Even Desert Flame making a little bit of a showing there.
Yeah, I mean, the only team this time around that got sent back with a whole bag of nothing was the players there from Seoul Esports. But as we know, they faced a little bit of a onslaught in those early stages of the game. So not surprising to see this really being the result of that then. But it's good to see Legends of War Blackjack still being able to secure themselves at least, you know, a single point, which is, again, at the end of the day, it's better than not having any at all. But of course, a little bit further up, right, we are seeing those 4 eliminations from Wave Esports. So again, right, the 1 point per elimination doing its thing.
Absolutely, and it's not going to stop doing its thing. These teams have been very good and very happy to jump up, you know, pick up some eliminations along the way. Even Triple Esports falling in just behind Wave Esports did provide them the perfect opportunity to pick up some great eliminations on their way into the zone. So that seems to be a common thread that we see from these teams. But what I want to know, after that change up on Sanhok, after Zero Tolerance and VST, alongside a few other surprising teams making their stands, how does that change overall rankings?
Well, you don't have to wait too long for the answer, because we have it right here, right? Titans, no surprise, sitting still at the very tippity top there with a 6 winner chicken dinners, 160 eliminations. I mean, they could sit in 4th place all by themselves just based on the eliminations, right? But that, of course, then results in them having 311 points total. 1 million bring in a very strong effort, sitting in a collective 224. But Leaders keeping that consistency going, locking in 184 points, and that's what we want to see. Consistency being key, and it's working out especially well for our top 3 teams. The rest of the board, still very contentious. We can see 1 round Slime 4KT side by side, but I'm loving the advance coming through here from Slime, right? We know leading up to today, it was a little bit more challenging for Slime to be as successful as they were in that first week, but it does seem things were really starting to line up even more favorably for them throughout today's games, and that's why we can see them sitting up in that 5th position, you know, slowly creeping up. Of course, Slime started off the day well, over in 6th place, but we did see quite a bit of those changes coming up, right? As the teams started raking in points, it made it that extra bit more challenging for Slime to maintain a strong position.
And of course, Team Myth making a bit of a splash of their own, moving up all the way from, I believe they started on 10th place today, up into 6th place, thanks to the winner chicken dinners that they picked up to we might remind ourselves. You know, 2 just seems to be the common denominator for teams. As soon as they step up, it has to be in a fashion of 2. No, we're going to pick up 2 winner chicken dinners today. All right, it's going to be ours. Thank you very much. Moving on to the second page, of course, let's go take a look and see where exactly Zero Tolerance ended up. I remind you, they started on 16th at the beginning of today.
Wow, 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 wow. That's all I can say, right? What a great play that is. And not only did they start today off in 16th place, but we know they took last week all the way in 18th position, right? With almost half the points that they have right now. So beautiful, beautiful rise going through for Zero Tolerance. And that's what we want to see. Teams continuously bring in those improvements, bring in those charges, and continuing to keep the pressure as high as they can manage. But still, looking at the distribution of points, it's not that much separating these teams, really, right? All the way from where we have TEAMLAG situated up in 8th place, even down to where we have Wave. One strong match could still bring in quite a drastic shift as to where these teams are situated. So I'm loving this play and that uncertainty as to who our teams will be sitting in the top 12 come the end of tomorrow.
Exactly, and because it's been so close, that's why we've seen the shift. That's why we see Zero Tolerance here. That's why you even see VST Gaming here. And they didn't pick up a single winner chicken dinner today. They were just consistent. They were just good at managing to ensure that they pick up some good, portion of points moving in from map to map to map, garnering them 9th place all the way from, I believe it was, 13th position. So they get themselves not only into the top 12, they really set themselves up quite nicely moving into tomorrow's games. And again, as the reigning champs of Livik, VST have a title to uphold, so they better make it into the top 12 at the end of tomorrow.
Yeah, they definitely have to try and make it all the way up. And as we saw, it is still pretty much achievable for anybody. Even moving on towards our final page, right? Blackjack, Esports, Darkness, Mad Knight, Legends of War, they still have the opportunity to get themselves solidified into that top 12, right? Is it going to be easy? No, not by any measure, but it is still an achievable point, right? The teams, if they come through with the determination in tomorrow's final games, we could very well see them sitting up there, right? Blackjack, we know. Last week, they were sitting in 12th position, so it is definitely within the realm of possibility for anybody still on these overall rankings to bring in the necessary changes.
Yeah, Triple Esports was on this page at the beginning of today, but that has now obviously been taken place by Darkness as they've moved up significantly thanks to their performances from today. So again, just goes to show that anyone can obviously make the change, as you've just, obviously discussed, and we've now seen with 3 prime examples, Triple Esports, VST, Zero Tolerance, immediately changing their fates and looking fantastic moving into tomorrow.
Yeah, quite a bit of excitement still on the board, right? As we know, it's all going to come down to those final 4 matches the teams are playing tomorrow. So quite a bit riding on this. And aside from that, it's also going to be the bonus point distribution that will be coming through at the end of the day. So the teams really having to try and lock in as much of a position as they can manage. And also a little bit of that living action also up for grabs for the top 12 teams. So quite a bit of excitement coming through in our games. But as we know, right, we are getting closer and closer to not only finishing up the second week, but we are also that much closer to seeing who could be those potential teams to make it through over in towards the finals.
And who's going to be the teams to come back with a very surprising performance. As we know, tomorrow the teams take an 8-day break from PMPL Africa Full, so they have a lot of time to prepare and a lot of time to rest and bring back their best possible performances moving into the last phase 3, of course, as their last opportunity to not only climb the standings once again at the beginning of the week all the way from fresh, but also just bolster their overall standings, because as we know, it is 20 points from each phase, and then it's 20 points at the end of all 3 phases based on how they've been performing and how consistent they've been.
Well, we'd love to hear what our viewers are thinking, so be sure to hit us up on social media. Of course, you can reach us on YouTube, Facebook, as well as on TikTok. Tell us, who do you think is going to be the teams to rise to the challenge moving into tomorrow's matches? Be sure to include the hashtag there, PMPL Africa, alongside your predictions. And of course, we're looking forward to seeing what exactly that could be. And maybe if someone's accurate enough to, predict the entire day's performances.
Ooh, I'll be very impressed, because so far, I think you've had one accidental prediction that went very well.
It was planned. It was planned. What are you talking about?
Questionable. Questionable. But yeah, so far that's been the only prediction that we've been doing that's been correct. It's been that. It was an accident and that's it.
Yeah. That makes it so challenging, right? Because as we saw, the teams continuously shaking up what we are expecting to see from them. But of course, one thing that we don't have any uncertainty about is going to be our sponsors. So first up, big thank you going out to Oppo. So Born to Win, welcome to the exciting match brought to you by Oppo. Get your gamer mode on with the much-loved Reno 7 series. And aside from Oppo, we need to give a big thank you out to Monster Energy as well. Monster Energy, of course, being our official energy drink partner for the PUBG Mobile Pro Leagues. Now, we've seen a few of these teams being absolutely... I think their blood has pretty much been replaced by Monster, right? Just based on the way that they're performing. I mean, there's a few names that rise to my head when I think of that, but I don't even have to utter those because we already know who I'm referring to with regards to that. But I'm quite excited to see, could we maybe have a few other teams, right, running on that Monster drip, moving into tomorrow, looking to just outpace the competition?
I mean, we actually have to focus on the teams who are currently outside of those top 12 placements or outside even of the top 16, as we know, trying to climb the overall standings as much as they possibly can. So tomorrow definitely is going to be the final push for the teams moving into that Livik and moving into the point where we actually allocate those bonus points where they can make a difference. As we know, because the teams have been so much healthier, so much more competitive moving into the entirety of this phase, they still have an opportunity moving into tomorrow to shake things up and actually get themselves a winning position.
Yeah, but that's what I love about the liquidity that we have here, right? From 9th all the way to 20th, nothing is secured just yet. And I mean, it's just going to take that strong effort, that strong mentality for the teams to come through tomorrow to really shake it up. And maybe we could see 12 new teams. Well, I don't think we're going to have 12 new teams, right? But a few new faces joining the top 12 to make it over on towards Livik. Definitely would be quite exciting to see VST returning over on towards Livik, as you said, right? They are the team that got that winner chicken dinner over there. But based on what we've been having so far, it could literally be anyone to rise to the occasion, to rise to the challenge. So it all will, of course, be revealed once we get into tomorrow's games to see what the teams are looking to bring into that final push to solidify their performances for that second week. And of course, with that, we are going to be greeting you guys for this evening. Thank you so much for everyone for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you all back again tomorrow as we continue with that last day of action. Be sure not to miss out anything. And of course, we'll see you back same time, same place, and hit us up on social. Tell us your predictions. Until then, stay safe, have a fantastic evening. I'll see you all back in tomorrow.